All right, good morning, everyone. This is the May 4th meeting of the Planning, Housing, and Economic Development Committee, and we are taking up a number of items today. This is our review of the fiscal year 23 operating and capital improvements program budgets, and we're taking up DHCA and MCEDC, the Economic Development Fund, and affordable housing. And Councilmember Jawando is joining us virtually, and he's visible there behind me. You'll let me know if he's giving me bunny ears or something like that. Very good. I'm looking at the staff memorandum on the screen in front of me, so I can't. Councilmember Jawando, you'll text me or something if you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Okay, so Naeem has prepared our packet, and we will dive into it. We're joined by DHCA Director Nigam and Deputy Director Demaray, and I see Dan McHugh and Pofin Salam, and of course Mary Beck. So very good. And Roger, I don't see Roger Stanley, but okay, Naeem.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. There's two packets in front of you. One is covering the general and grant funds for DHCA, and the other one is covering the HIF, the Housing Initiative Fund, as well as the CIP items and the amendments that were sent forth by the executive. If it's okay with the committee, I can cover the general and grant funds quickly. I think that's a relatively easier one, and then we can dive into the HIF and CIP discussions.
Okay, so you want to do the HIF, you want to do all the housing items first together? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, all the folks are here.
Okay, and then we'll come back to economic development.
Yeah,
and
okay.
The EDF. Okay, we'll do the fun part first. Okay. Great.
Okay, so with the executive is recommending a total of $19.3 million for the general funded and grant funded portion of DHCA, not the HIF. The major cost changes there are related to three positions that are being proposed, as well as inflationary adjustments for the nonprofit partners for DHCA. For the three positions, council staff is recommending approval of all three positions. We have a investigator 3 for the landlord-tenant affairs program, as well as a manager 3 and investigator 3 for the cooperative ownership communities program as well. Each of these positions funded by revenues, not tax supported, but from revenues from within the program. For the investigator 3 for the LTA program, there is no revenue increase associated with that, so that's being covered by the revenues from the rental fees as they are currently at the current rates.
So we have two more positions for the Common Ownership Communities Program. Is that the COC? Good. I'm sure those are going to be very useful, and I'm pleased to see our continuing progress in strengthening that program. Dr. Nigam?
Correct. So in order to serve our community and residents better, there was no structure that was put into place in 2015 when the whole COC program was moved or transferred to DHCA. So we were fortunate that we had a volunteer commissioner who worked like a full-time employee without getting paid for it.
Dr. Fishbein? Yes.
Mark Fine.
Mark Fine, yes.
Yeah. So thanks to Mark, for working with us without getting paid for it,
yes.
And he carried the program for us.
Yeah.
Now that he's no longer with the commission, we do have to put a structure together, and this is our opportunity to put the structure together. So I have got conversations with Councilman Peterson before, several months ago on different matters. So this is our opportunity. And this is fee-based program, so all the positions get supported by the fee that the program generates. So we are tweaking the fee structure as well. So that's what Naeem was mentioning basically here. So we'll be hiring 2 new employees in this program and 1 additional employee for the Alta staff.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and just to clarify, there's no fee increase associated with the Alta staff that's being added. There is a fee increase associated with the COC staff. It's going up from $5 per housing unit to $6.50 per unit effective January 1st, 2023. And so that rate increase will generate revenues to support the 2 positions.
Okay.
So just to clarify on that point, for the new units that will be coming online, the fee will go up from $5 to $6.50 come January 1st, 2023. For the existing units, the fee will go up as of July 1st of 2023. For the city of Gaithersburg, who will be joining us in July of this year, under our agreement with City of Gatesburg, so that those people who are watching us, they don't see that we are increasing the fees on them. Their fees will not go up for the next 3 fiscal years. And that's what we have figured out with OMB in our projections.
Okay.
And the only other issue is inflationary adjustments for nonprofit providers. As you know, the CEs have recommended a 6% increase for all departments with nonprofit partners. For DHCA General Fund, that increase is about $30,000 versus the FY22 approved budget. The HHS committee, which first looked at the increase about a week and a half ago, they actually recommended additional tranches of 8% increase and 10% increase. So if this committee were to follow suit, that would be a additional $40,000 and $50,000 impact versus the FY22 base budget. So the staff recommendation is to include those 2 tranches in the reconciliation list, and at full council, council needs to determine which is the appropriate level for all departments.
Great. Let's do that for sure.
Okay.
All right. Agreed.
Turning to the HIF discussion. Let's see. Okay. So the county executive is recommending $49 million for HIF operating programs in FY23. That's about a $6 million increase versus 22, 13.8%. I've laid out the kind of the overall structure of the HIF in the packet, as well as on Circle. Let's see. There's a spreadsheet on Circle 17. That's right. Thank you, Pofin. That gives a high-level summary. I can go into the overview in more detail, but I know we're pressed for time. But the main takeaways here is that there's an increase in recordation tax coming into the HIF that's going towards rental assistance programs. There's some fund balance in FY22 that's also carrying over in FY23. So there's some overall additional resources coming into the HIF. So some of the programs in the HIF have increased expenditures as well. I don't know, Pofin, did you want to add anything to that? Okay.
Okay, so there's some additional revenues, and this is just reflecting the statutory requirement
Correct.
of additional revenue that is expected.
Correct.
Which is it's directed to the HIF.
That's correct.
And so the executive's recommendation is consistent with the longstanding policy here.
Correct. That's
Okay.
right. In terms of the operating programs funded by the HIF, I'll go into those really quickly. As I've noted, the rental assistance programs budget has increased significantly. That's the recordation tax that's coming in. It's now being allocated entirely to that.
Can you,
Yeah.
for other people, what page of the memo are you on?
Sorry, I'm on page 8.
Okay.
At the bottom of page 8.
Great. I'm sure those other people will really appreciate your telling them that. Okay.
So the rental assistance program is going up about $4.7 million versus FY20 approved, 32% higher, again, due to the increase in recordation tax revenues. The HOC and HHS programs are being funded at a 3% increase, and so the majority of the increase is actually going towards DHCA's programs.
Okay, hang on.
Yep.
Okay, on page 8, major HIF funded expenditures, rental assistance budget funded for HIF by HIF. Okay, so that's going up. Okay, we got a significant increase of the rental assistance in the DHCA budget. Okay, got it.
Right. The key note here is that DHC is using their funds to keep rental agreements affordable. So we have a number of rental agreements that are expiring or set to be expiring soon. And so the additional recordation tax revenues are being used to keep those units affordable going forward.
Okay, got it. So we're buying down rental units to keep them more deeply affordable.
Correct. So these are the MPDUs which will be expiring. So we have a couple of hundred MPDUs within Bethesda area. So we'll have the opportunity with this increased revenue to keep those units affordable for a certain period of time.
These are rental or
These are rental.
These are rental. Okay. So these are 99-year units expiring?
No, these were actually originally 20 or 30 year. Yeah, these are not 99.
70s,
yeah.
70s and 80s. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Bottom of our second half of page 9. This is the home ownership assistance program. The executive is actually recommending an increase in the program of about $1 million extra versus FY22 approved for a total of $4 million. However, I will note that of the $4 million, $2 million is going towards the HOC and state-funded portions of the program, which is actually $1 million less than 22. But the executive is recommending additional $2 million for the county employee census program. Now, the details of that are subject to the collective bargaining process, so we don't have a lot of details at this time, but that is what the executive is recommending at this time.
Say that again?
So the homeownership assistance program is funded at $3 million for 22. All of that is going towards the state and HOC programs. For 23, the executive is recommending reducing that $3 million to $2 million, but he's adding $2 million on top of that.
So he's cutting the homeowners assistance funding for the general public and substituting $1 million for the general public for county employee
Correct.
Homeowner assistance.
Correct, plus another $1 million. So,
Well, if I can just interject here to set the stage. Typically, we have put in $2 million towards homeownership, $1 million for HOC and $1 million for the state. Last year, it was an anomaly. And if you remember the conversation from last year, it was only for one time we had extra money for $1 million that went into homeownership program. So this year, we are reverting back to our original funding, which was going to be $2 million in total, $1 million for HOC, $1 million for the state. But then in addition, our proposal is to have a program, which I have spoken to council before even coming to DHCA, for the county employees, including school employees. So we're not there yet. We have to negotiate with the unions, and then we can come back and share the details of the program with you. But this $2 million will be funded out the fund balance. So this is a question for Mary. So once our budget gets approved, we don't have to come back to the council for the funding approval again, if my understanding is correct.
Well, different context. Last year, the committee recommended adding $1 million for the homeowners assistance program for the community. That's why the money was there. It wasn't an anomaly. It was the county council's housing committee that recommended, and the council approved, adding $1 million so that lower income, county residents could have more assistance purchasing a home.
True, but at the same time, if you look at the package did say it was one-time funding only. So this year we are going back to $2 million, but we are increasing the overall funding from $3 million from last year to $4 million. So $2 million will be for the county employees and MCPS employees. This will be a pilot program. We can give you the details later on once we are able to negotiate with the unions. So at this point, we can't say much about that program per se.
And are you in bargaining over it now? Is the county in bargaining over it?
We have met with one of the unions, but we have lined up our other meetings with the other unions. So unless we close the loop with the unions, since it's a financial incentive for the county employees, we do have to close the loop with the unions first before we can give out the details.
Well, I'd like some information about the bargaining timeline. And I have some concern about reducing our homeowners assistance to the public. I'd like to hear what my colleagues have to say, but yeah.
With this program, as it's currently funded at $3 million, what is the usage in terms of the requests, the amount spent? We're basically in the third quarter of the fiscal year.
So typically, when the monies do become available, the monies are basically spoken for within a few months' time. So out of $2 million, we provide assistance up to $25,000 per household. So at the most, we can serve about 80 some households. So, but those monies get spoken for, fairly quickly, or as soon as the monies do become available.
So the money has been spoken for already. We're in the third quarter. It's gone. When was it gone? At what point in the fiscal year?
I will ask Frank, do you know when the money was gone from the state?
No, it was gone in the last calendar year. The closings occurred, later in the calendar year. So it's spoken for within 6 months.
So it just seems a little odd to me that, I think that the program that you're talking about, initiating a new program specifically for public employees and educators, I think sounds like a great program, and I'd be interested in hearing more about it. But it seems odd that we'd be taking money out of a program that already has insufficient funds to be able to meet the needs of residents who are first-time home buyer. I mean, can you just explain, rather than saying we're going to continue to fund this at the $3 million level, the council added $1 million last year because the need is so great. And we have another program specifically for public employees and for educators because we want them to be able to afford to live in our county. And that's a challenge that all of us are concerned about. And we want to see if the council will appropriate additional funding specifically for this program once we've collectively bargained. I'm just not sure why we're cutting out of the public fund for residents to fund this rather than initiating a new program, particularly in a budget where, I mean, there's additional funding being placed in a myriad of new programs, and I am not aware of very many that pull funding out of programs that are being oversubscribed and utilized. I mean, rental assistance, for instance, we're adding money to, which I think is a good idea because we need it. So can you just explain the thought process there?
So, I mean, last year, and my memory may be rusty, so if Pofen and Mary Beck can, remember where that $1 million came from. Yes, the council did approve one-time funding, and it was made clear that was one-time funding only to increase the funding from $2 million to $3 million. So probably there was $1 million extra that was available at that time. My memory may be rusty on this one. So that's why we are going back to $2 million for HOC and the state of a regular program, and then $2 million for the county employees.
Mr. Friesen, if I may, last year, the beginning of fund balance rolled over to FY22. It was estimated about 12.5 million. So council basically made decision to allocate 1 million from the beginning of fund balance to support additional home ownership assistance program as a one-time. So it was approved as a one-time. So we got rolled it over right now from FY22 to FY23. We estimate it's about only 5 million. It's unspoken for. So based on the decision from last year, that's why the department recommends 2 million for the continual home ownership assistance program. But in addition, we would like to support putting additional 2 million for county employees.
I mean, I'll just note the executive branch made very explicit that they believe that all budgets are 1 year and all items within the budget are 1 year items. So this distinction of 1 year funding versus ongoing funding, particularly in a program like this, is a bit odd. I mean, when we get our packets and when we get the budget book that the executive branch writes itself and submits to us as a recommendation, it compares to last year's funding. It's a budget that literally is compared to the last year's level of effort. So it seems like a bit of an odd, like you're working on a program that I think is a worthy program, but you're funding it by moving money out of the level of effort that we had done last year for a program that is oversubscribed. That just it is a bit odd.
Councilmember Tawando has a question. I'll go to him, but I just want to state really clearly, I mean, you're ascribing a intent to the county council because we're the ones who added the funding. And we said we're adding $1 million because we have the money this year. We did not say we will not add another $1 million next year. We just said we're adding $1 million this year because we have the funding. And you're asserting that we intended not to fund it this year. And that was not our intent. Our intent was it's an open question as to whether we can fund it next year. But we're definitely doing it this year. That was our intent. Councilmember Tawando.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I also agree that we've all talked about the need to have, workforce housing. And make sure that our county employees can afford to live here. It's good for them. It's good for their providing services. It's good for understanding community. So no disagreement here, as you've heard from colleagues, about the I'm excited and interested and we have talked about this in the past of different efforts to try to improve that situation. I guess I want to understand from DHCA, from the administration's perspective. I understand, I think, what you're saying about you assume that was one-time funding, but this money goes away really quickly, right? It's already been spoken for. And so describe if we did what you're suggesting here, how many people have been served this year by the program that we invested in last year with the resources that we added? Let's start with that question. Like how many folks were helped?
So with $3 million, assuming $25,000 of assistance per household, we serve probably 120, households.
All right, so it's about $25,000. That's the maximum.
Yes, that is the maximum.
And so that would be, there's someone doing the math. I know we got POF in there, so Ms. Salem is there. She's probably better than me. So this would be your proposal is to go down to $2 million, right?
Yes. So yes, our proposal is to keep it at 2 level where we were until last year or year before last year, and then start a new program for the county employees with the additional $2 million. So the pilot program, we'll have to come back and tell the committee what we learned through that process, whether we have to tweak the program or bring more money to the program.
That would be at the same level, right? It would still be 25. Even in the new program we're proposing, it's the same structure as the general.
I'm going to be careful in how much I can say in this.
Because you're negotiating it, but you're starting. It's going to be similar, and it might not be exactly the same because you have to negotiate it. But it's going to be the baseline is it's similar in function. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
The overall intent is similar. Yes.
Got it. And under the old the historic program, a county employee could have applied for that, right?
Yes, they could.
And I'm assuming we probably don't know. Do we know whether county employees have received that in the past or in the last year, for example?
We do not have the answer to that question. Yeah.
Okay. But they would have been eligible just like any other resident.
Yes.
And so this would be $4 million between the employee program pilot and the one that's open to the general public, correct?
Correct.
So, okay. So there's an argument to be made, look, a lot of people need assistance. Our county employees are part of that. So there's a net increase, so to speak, between the two programs for county residents. Right, to people whether they're county employees, obviously there's a set aside here for what you're proposing is for county employees. So why didn't you just keep it at the $3 million and then add the other, do the pilot at a smaller amount? That would have seemed to make more sense.
Well, we weighed, that option that we had $2 million for the other program, then we start another program with $2 million. So that was the thinking behind it, versus having $3 million and then $1 million.
Well, I mean, I don't know if colleagues want, I think it's I like the pilot idea. I think we should do it. I don't like the idea of rolling back from the general fund where we've had, it goes away quickly. There's big time need. I mean, this is a drop in the bucket for folks who are trying to get home ownership. It's a really important building block to economic success. So, I don't know if I'd either want to keep it at 2 and do the pilot at 1, or keep it at 3 and do the pilot at 1, or keep it at 3 and do the pilot at 2 and put it on tranches on the reconciliation list or something. But I'm open to. I want to hear from colleagues, but I think there's some agreement that we shouldn't roll that back.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I think keeping it at 3, because I don't think we should be backtracking on our commitment here. Having a $1 million pilot, we're not even sure when the negotiation is going to be finished and at what point in the year. We know that this program has more needs than we have funding to honor.
Right.
And we know that even at $3 million level, it was gone in 6 months. So keep that at 3, $1 million for the pilot, and then if it is, it moves forward and is wildly successful, we can
next year.
Take a look at adding funding to it for moving forward. I think that makes sense, and I would agree with with that, Councilmember Joanna.
Well, if I can just add, we hope to finish our negotiations with the unions by the end of June. That's our expectation. So when the monies do become available as of July 1st, we hope to launch this program later this calendar year. So that's our expectation in terms of the time.
Do you have, we have a program that right now that works, but that doesn't have enough funding. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
The program works, it doesn't have enough funding, it gets oversubscribed in less than 6 months. We all agree?
Yes.
We have a new program, which we hope is going to be successful, and we all think is a really good idea. And we're looking forward to seeing how well it works. So let's make sure we don't go away from the funding that we currently have in the program that we know works and that is oversubscribed. Let's launch a pilot of a program that has not even started yet, and let's assess where we are for moving forward. I mean, I just think that makes a lot of sense.
And you're talking about, at $1 million, that's 40 households, right? Versus 80 if you're 2 million. So, I mean, again, these aren't large numbers, I think, but to the point that Councilman Friedson just made, which is undergirding my suggestion, we have a program that works that already doesn't have enough money. Let's keep that there. Let's do the pilot, which is a good idea. And then we can come back and see how things are going next year. So that I would agree with that.
Okay. Can you put $1 million
You have
on
a
the
committee recommendation. What's that?
Can you put $1 million in the reconciliation list or something?
No, because that we don't know that we can get that money. That's I think it would be far more appropriate to fund the known first and the unknown second. So we have a committee recommendation. Thank you. All right.
Just for everybody's benefit and to make it clear, if you look at the page 17 on Naeem's packet, so on the row item FY21
Page-
versus the
Sorry, Pofin, is it circle page 17?
circle
or-
page 17.
We have this new
Yes.
nomenclature.
I
We
know.
have memo, circle, and PDF page. So
Circle page 17. So just make sure everybody understand, if we going to add additional $1 million to the home ownership assistance program, that will have an impact on the FY46. That on the Naeem's packet, the FY23 recommended it would change from 2 million to 3 million, and then we would have to reduce the affordable housing loan from 5.3 to 4.3. This is just the estimate. So this is how we.
is that a difference from what, I think that's the same thing we're saying, right?
It would be
so
the same appropriation, but
Yeah.
it would be a mix within the programs.
Thank you. I'm not sure that you gave me any information there that was different. Are you trying
No,
to
no.
share something that I should, you're just clarifying?
clarify,
Okay, got it.
just make sure
You're doing
we
the
are on the
final,
same page.
the
and
final
somebody- yeah.
administrative point here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sometimes I can't tell. Is there something there that I need to make sure I'm understanding? Okay,
Now
got it.
it's all clear.
Thank you.
Okay, page 10 of the packet, not circle 10. Again, we have the same issue with inflation adjustments. I have a proposal for option B and C, which is adding 8% and 10%. This again is for the HIF-funded nonprofit, HIF-funded funding for the nonprofits. So again, if we wanted to be consistent, we can add 8% and 10% to the reconciliation list.
Yeah, I think we should be consistent with what the other committees have done for nonprofits, and I think we should do the same for everybody. So we'll have to take this up in reconciliation, but I think the 2 tranches at 2% each was what the HHS committee did, and I think we should do the same.
Amen.
Agreed.
All right.
And can I just ask, is there the packet I'm looking at? I don't see the page number. Maybe was there an updated packet, or is this?
This is the packet under the CIP items. There's 2 DHCA packets. So if you click on the CIP items, you'll see the.
Got it. We're in CIP packet. Okay, that's what I said. Because there's reference to the home program in the other packet. But I was like, that's not the right page. Okay, so we're.
There was some effort in trying to put up a framework. So sorry for the confusion.
So you're on memo page 10. It
Memo
says 10
page
at the
10.
bottom of that page. And, okay.
Correct.
And we are, right, the middle of that page is the inflationary adjustment, and we are agreed for 10%.
Got it. Yes.
And then,
Or the two tranches of 2% and 2%, like the HHS committee did, right? That's what
consistent with the general committee's approaches across the whole budget. Okay, and then the rest of this packet is just restating that, right? So now we go back to
We can cover the CIP items.
CIP items. So item 4,
Yes. Item 4, correct.
which takes you right back to where you were in that memo. I think there's just one memo, isn't there? Yeah. So you weren't confused, Councilmember Joanna. There's only one memo linked of all of these. They're combined, right?
Correct. Yes. It's
There's the operating in the CIP. I think there's a DHC operating.
There's a
that
general
has-
fund and a CIP. Correct.
Yes.
Sorry, there's 2 memos. All right, never mind. Thought I was helping. I was hurting.
Correct. Because the CIP items are related to the HIF, it was put in the same memo.
All right, let's do it.
So, okay, if we go back to page 5 of the packet with the HIF, this is the packet that says PHED items 1, 4, 5, and 6 up on the top right.
I see. That was the issue. We jumped ahead. Now we're jumping back.
We did jump
okay.
ahead, correct. Okay, so if we start at page 5, the county executive has sent over several FY22 appropriation requests as well as an amendment. The amendment he sent over is an amendment to the Affordable Housing Acquisition Preservation CIP project. On January, in his recommended CIP, he essentially recommended a funding level of $22 million a year for the 6-year period. In his March amendments, he has increased FY24, 25, and 26 by a total of $25 million additional for those years and for that CIP project. The reason is that there's an increase in recordation tax projections, and so he's programming the recordation tax revenues into that project for those years. He's also recognizing the FY22 supplemental request that was sent over in January for $14.75 million of loan payment proceeds. That's an appropriation request for FY22, so those funds, that $14.75 million, will be programmed in FY22. Council staff is recommending approval of both amendments of both the appropriation requests for the loan repayment proceeds as well as the $25 million. I will note that the additional recognition tax first shows up in FY24. So if there's a shortfall in projections next year, we have some time to adjust the budget, which I think is a prudent measure.
So again, once again, this is a projection of recordation tax revenue, and the policy is to devote that funding to the HIF.
Correct.
And so this is reflecting that. Is that right, Mary Beck?
No,
No.
there's 2 pots of recordation tax money. Some comes directly into the HIF on the operating side, and some comes into the CIP. The
Right.
recordation tax premium comes to the CIP and can be used for any county government project. But
Okay.
the executive recommended putting this extra amount in affordable housing. He would have done more but in the other years, but we couldn't afford it in those other years.
Got it. Okay, good. Thanks.
Now, if we go to page 6, I can talk about his CE's new project that he's recommending, the Preservation of Naturally Occurring Affordable Housing Fund, CIP. The executive is recommending $40 million in total funding, starting in FY22, $5 million 22, $20 million in 23, and $15 million in 24. The funding is current revenue, and so it's essentially cash that could otherwise be used for the operating budget as well. The reason for the additional $40 million is that the county has received one-time revenues in 22, or freed up revenues as a result of state actions and state aid. No? One time, okay. Okay, so this is one-time funding in 22.
But it is spread out over a couple of years.
Correct. But the idea is to appropriate it fully in 22 so that it's essentially programmed in the project and available.
I see. So it's appropriated all at once, but then it's expected to be
Spread out.
dispersed
Spent.
over
Correct.
a couple of years.
Right. Now, in talking with DHCA, they have identified one potential project in FY22 that could move forward quickly with this funding, and another project in 23. But that's about talking about $10 million of potentially ready-to-go projects. The remaining funding would remain in this project until new projects were identified and funding was approved for those. Again, I think, for council staff, the fact that it's current revenue, that it's competing with the operating budget, and the fact that this is not a revolving fund. So any funds that are, is it a revolving fund?
Well, we don't know.
Well,
We haven't seen it.
well, never mind. Well,
Well, we can hear from DHCA
Yeah.
about their vision here.
there's a lot of questions overall.
Yeah, well, so this is the big item here. I want to, we're going to get a little bit of a presentation here. We're going to take some time to talk about what the committee's work has been so far on affordable housing financing and consider some of the ideas that we've been developing here. We've got a number of our nonprofit housing providers who are here today, developers. I'm going to ask them to come join us at the dais, and we're going to have a conversation with them as well. So we're going to have a full conversation about how we can increase our level of investment in affordable housing. And I just want to start it off by saying I appreciate the executive's recommendation for sending us more funding for affordable housing. I think that's a good priority, and we can do something with this. So let's just start with that as a basis of the conversation, that the executive has devoted additional funding here, and we think that's a good thing. And we'd like to now talk about the best way for us to, take advantage of the moment and use resources to their maximum impact. So why don't we hear from DHCA about your vision here, and then we'll have more conversation.
Thank you very much, Chairman Reamer here. Let's go to the first slide. While the slides are coming up, these are exciting times for affordable housing in Montgomery County. Given the county executive's recommended budget, we can really make a statement by recommending $140 million for housing support, preservation, and production of affordable housing in the county. We'll be behind DC for sure because they have a lot more money than we do, but we'll be ahead of the game if you compare Montgomery County with any other jurisdiction within DMV area, including Northern Virginia communities.
DC has gone to $500 million, isn't that right?
Yes, but DC got a lot of federal money, as a state, and then they have some, dedicated funding going to housing trust funds. So we'll be next to DC, but we'll be ahead of a lot of other jurisdictions, whether it's, within Maryland or in Virginia communities, Northern Virginia communities as such. So we can really make a statement over here. So can you go to the first slide, please? So we wanted to update the committee on our last conversation that we had in December of last year, that what we have been doing in FY22 before we get to other parts of this presentation. So we have committed $69 million to 16 projects, creating or preserving almost 1,200 units.
This is the HIF in general.
Yeah, HIF and CIP together.
HIF and CIP together.
Yes.
Okay, but this is HIF lending.
Yes. So it matches out like half and half between preservation and production. So DSCA has been, working very hard with our developer partners. Some of them are over here, and we thank them for their support towards promoting affordable housing. And just as a point of reference, so that we all on the same page, and we don't like to compare, two departments per se. So I don't want my comments to get misconstrued in any shape and form, because I used to work for a housing authority in my prior life for more than a decade, and I have great respect for housing authority. But just putting the right perspective, what DSC is doing versus what HOC may be doing in terms of housing. Housing is housing, but in their projects, 70% of the units are market rate, and 30% are affordable housing. In our lending, 85 or 87% of the lending goes towards affordable housing. Although we are serving people among all income groups, 85 to 87% of the units are serving between 30% and 60% of AMI. There are some units at 70% and some market rate units. However, our subsidy dollars, our deferred loans, cash for deferred loans, go towards affordable units. So I just want to make that clear. So 8 projects have closed. one with faith-based community, and one is adaptive reuse of commercial building, which you see in the picture over
Look
here.
at that. That is exciting. That is a great project.
Yes.
That is really cool. Sandy
Yes.
Spring, a commercial building being converted.
Yes, yes.
Love that.
We are very excited about that adaptive reuse. So although today we are talking about housing, in general in terms of financing, we're also looking at opportunities. Where the opportunities are, we're going to put new affordable housing. So how we can unfold the opportunities here. So here we saw the opportunity. We had a developer who is out of state, who is out of Indiana. They worked with us in terms of converting this commercial building into senior housing. Now, conversion of commercial buildings into housing is expensive and is tedious. There are other requirements, like setback and other things. So not every vacant commercial building will lend itself for affordable housing, but we certainly see a path forward here in terms of future, opportunities. And if you remember, the county executive sent the federal priorities letter to the council, my guess is probably 6 weeks ago or something, and the council supported it. Within that federal priorities, we put in a plug for the federal government if they can provide additional incentives in terms of separate allocation of 9% credits for conversion of commercial buildings into housing. This is not just Montgomery County issue, this is not Maryland issue, this is national issue. And we can see that something can be developed in terms of affordable housing if you can convert some of these commercial buildings into affordable housing. Not naming names here, I had conversation with staff from a couple of senators, so we'll see, if we get any mileage out of it. I had a conversation with Secretary Holt when I met him about a week ago. The state would be supporting, and I'm sure our affordable housing developers will be supporting this initiative. I'm pretty sure Enterprise, who's in the audience, they are probably working on this initiative. So, I don't know who is hearing this conversation this morning, but here's an opportunity for all of us together to create more affordable housing and convert some of those commercial buildings into affordable housing. Then also, we looked at another opportunity with faith-based community. So just last Friday, we had the groundbreaking in Up County, new construction with St. Anne Episcopal Church and Mission First. They are the core developers. And we had a town hall meeting with the faith-based community about 2 weeks ago. And the point over there was how do we can unlock the opportunities here? Faith-based community, they have land which is not utilized at all or maybe underutilized. And given the dynamics that have happened, in my prior life when I was working with the faith-based community, they wanted to increase the size of their worship, building as such. But now in the new normal, some of us are attending those services in virtual mode. So they may not see the need of increasing their worship, building size as such, but they can leverage the land. Yes, it is, you have to go through the process. No one said development is easy, but the other side of the equation is we can make affordable housing work on the faith-based community-owned land. So far, DSCA has done 26 projects with faith-based community, and 13 of those projects have been on the faith-based community-owned land as such. So we have been leveraging, and that's where we see another option where we can put affordable housing. So we'll continue on that effort, and we'll continue to work with the faith-based communities, going forward. Then the next point here is, about the leveraging. So I mentioned we have committed money to 16 projects, which will preserve or create 1,200 units. So for every single county dollar, DSCA, with the support from our affordable housing partners, have been able to bring $5 additional dollars, whether it's the private money, state money, or the federal money. I will take a
This is you're describing your HIF ratio in general?
Yes.
I think our providers would say for every $4 that we bring you, you give us $1, but okay, gotcha.
Okay. So I will take a pause over here just to put everything in the right perspective. Those folks who watched, the work session last Monday, and those who are watching this work session this morning, I don't want people to get confused. When HOC talked about 25-to-1 ratio, and we confirmed this with them, they were talking about on their construction lending and assuming that $50 million bond gets rolled over every 4 years. So over a period of 20 years, when the county is paying the debt service on the $50 million bond, that's how they were calculating 25-to-1 ratio. Here
Okay.
we are talking about permanent financing.
Yeah,
These are
we
two
know
different-
they're very different.
Yeah, they're
It's
very
okay.
different. So
Yeah.
just to put in everything in the right perspective, so people don't get confused. You know, my God, we saw 25-to-1 ratio last Monday. Here we are seeing 5-to-1.
Different kind of housing.
Different, yes. So, and then these 16 projects, you know, we have done projects with 11 different development partners, including for-profit and non-profit partners, including a development partner who is out of state. So we are attracting new development partners to promote affordable housing in the county. And then also DSC, as we heard, you know, earlier, you know, we do enter into some rental agreements. So in FY22, we preserved almost 700 units through entering into rental agreements. Well, those agreements, you know, range from 5 to 7 years to 10 years. There was one transaction where we were able to enter into a 15-year agreement, rental agreement, to keep certain units affordable at or below 50% of AMI. And then on an annual basis, we do preserve, you know, whether it's rental or home ownership, couple of hundred MPDUs. So this is calendar year 2021, because that's how we track our MPDUs. We were able to create 320 MPDUs. So if you take the math here, 1,200 units in the first bullet, plus 300 in the last bullet, we were able to preserve or create 1,500 units. So which speaks for itself how busy, you know, DSC and their development partners have been. Next slide, please. So no one has to squint their eyes on this chart because this is included in the package. I think it is page number 10. Page number 10 in the package. We made a commitment to the committee that, you know, we're going to simplify things in our budget process so that our developer community can easily understand how much new money is available, because it's so difficult. The way our budget works, you know, and the format that we have to follow, it was difficult to see how much money is really available. So we have included a one-pager. We worked with the council staff behind the scene to come up with one page. Hopefully it is clear. If it's not, we'll continue to make things clearer, you know, going forward.
We'd certainly welcome feedback from the housing developers about this. You know, this has been a longstanding goal to create more transparency here. So
Sure. So just to quickly over here on this, you know, table, under HIF operating, total amount is 18.8 million. New funding is 13.5 under our recommended budget. And as we talked earlier, fund balance is 5.3, which may go down to 4.3 now, given the adjustment we just made in the homeownership programs. And then in HIF CIP is 36.7 million. We talked about 22 million and then 14.7 for the supplemental. And the committee will have to take action on that supplemental as well. And the next one is our NOAA proposed fund. That's a talk of the town for $40 million. This is the money which is already there in county bank account from FY22 receipts. We do not have to worry about, you know, future funding, so there's no uncertainty. We'll talk more in the next slide about this $40 million. And then for affordable housing opportunity funds, we are recommending $6 million. As we mentioned previously, the original.
my colleague makes an observation here. You're seemingly counting $40 million as an FY23 funding resource when actually it's programmed over several years.
Well, the money will be approved this year. So in terms of budgeting, I guess, you know.
But it's not your intent to spend it this
Yeah,
year.
well-
It's a multi-year spending strategy.
I think we showed it spread over a couple of years, mostly because deals tend to take time, but the intent was if they can spend it right away, they should. With the appropriation, because it's cash, they can spend it immediately. So
That's a good point of information. Thank you.
All right, so Moving along, for the Opportunity Fund, we are requesting $6 million. So our original goal was $20 million to start with, and we thank the committee and the council for appropriating $14 million. So as we mentioned to the committee, we were going to make the Opportunity Fund operational by March of 2022, which we did. It has been operational for a month, and we are already seeing, a lot of interest from the developer partners. So we cannot share any information right now. Those transactions are in initial stages, but we can clearly see the impact. Our developer partners and private market in general reacts very well once something is operational or there's a specific use for certain amount of funds, which we are seeing through the Opportunity Fund. So Opportunity Fund is going to complement our long-term funding through HEF and CIP together in terms of exit strategy. And then we have about $2 million in CDBG and about 2.4 in home. So altogether is $106 million. So if you take out $6 million for the Opportunity Fund for long-term financing, we are recommending almost $100 million in capital loans.
Just a quick question on the Opportunity Fund. You show the $6 million here. How much of the obviously the $6 million hasn't been encumbered, but how much of the $8 million has been deployed?
But it is 14. It was 8 and then 6.
Right. I understand. You're showing 6 here.
Yeah.
'Cause
14,
that's the current year. How much of the 14? I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt that the
No,
$6 million
okay.
would have been harder to deploy, but how
So-
much of the $14 million has been deployed?
Okay, so far the council has appropriated $14 million
Right.
towards the Opportunity Fund. We are asking for additional 6. Now, in terms of answering your question, how much has been deployed? The fund became operational just last month, well, end of March. It's been just 1 month since it became operational. We are looking at a couple of mid-sized transactions, couple of big-sized transactions. So we are working through those transactions as we speak, and hopefully going forward we can share some information with you, with the committee. We are not there yet.
So is that 0?
When you say 0, well, we are working towards those transactions. I won't quite say 0. I mean, the funding is available, and what we're saying is the market reacts in a positive manner once the funding is available and the program is up and running. So I won't quite say 0 per se.
Okay, so we haven't made any deals yet, but you have some things that are brewing.
Yes.
We'll
Yes.
say, okay. But you want $6 more million towards this, so it'd be a total of
Correct.
$20 million.
Correct.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So then moving along for the federal funds, we have almost $4.5 million between CDBG and home, so altogether 106. So the capital funding will be more like $101 million, or maybe $100 million if we take $1 million away from here. So the next slide, please. So what will this $100 million do for us? So assuming we do 5-to-1 leveraging, as we mentioned in the first slide, and given our subsidy of $56,000 per unit, which is pretty competitive. And we
Dr. Nigam, how many slides do you have?
we have 5 slides.
So this is number 2?
No, this is number 4.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just one
Just
more
want to make
slide.
sure we can get, yeah.
Just
You're
one more slide after
You're giving
this.
us a good presentation about all of your work,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that. So thank you.
And thank you for your patience. So, as we know, and I'll be, preaching to the choir over here, we have 20,000 households in the county who are severely rent burdened. And if you look at the COG goals, we need to create additional 20 or 23,000 units, affordable units. Overall, we need to create 40,000 housing units, of which almost 50% need to be affordable. And we also very well know, and I don't think we need to do any more analysis or any more studies, the studies that have been done by the planning department, whether it's the housing preservation study or the housing needs study, both of those studies mention that we may lose 11,000 naturally occurring affordable housing by 2030. In short, it's NOAA units. So overall, we have 25 or 26,000 NOAA units in the county, and we may lose 11,000 units unless we interject ourselves at this point and preserve those units. And then, of course, our developers, remain focused, and they are more focused once the funding is available, which we do appreciate. Next slide, please. This is the last slide. So now let's talk about the $40 million, our proposed new fund, which is the topic for the discussion, among several forums here. So we talked about $100 million in the previous slide. What can we do with $40 million, for this fund? Given the same leveraging that DHC and its partner have been able to accomplish 5-to-1, with these, we can deploy these $40 million to attract $200 million in state, federal, and private capital. And assuming our participation of $56,000 on a per unit basis, we can preserve 700 units and keep them affordable. Now, we know that preservation.
That's based on your average per unit cost,
Correct,
$56,000.
Yes, yes. So we know how important it is and how critical it is not to lose whatever is affordable right now. Then only we can make the net gain towards affordable housing and meet COG goals per se. We can keep the communities, intact where they are. Our children can go to the same school system where they are. They don't have to worry about, moving to a different school system or anything. We can preserve the communities with this $40 million. So we think our recommendation is to deploy this capital, the money that we already have at this point, and not wait and do any more analysis or anything. We also know there are market pressures. On an ongoing basis, DSCS sees 50 to 55 acquisition transactions in any given year.
Isn't that $56,000 number based on a combination of preservation and new production?
Yes.
But is that how you're intending? This is a preservation fund. Isn't it cheaper to preserve than to construct?
Well, it all depends, how much work is needed in any transaction. As people will, tell you, sometimes preservation can take, a little bit more money than new construction, depending upon if you're tearing down the walls, if they're just down to the studs or something.
Depends
So
on what the
Yeah, so depending upon
building to building.
Yes, exactly. So we're just using that as a benchmark for the sake of discussion. So in terms of market pressure, on an ongoing basis, DSCS sees 50 to 55 acquisition transactions from the marketplace. So in 2021, we saw $3.5 billion with a B in sales, and which basically doubled from 2020. And the price per unit went up by 40%. That's the market we are in. So we need to act now to preserve what we have currently, and there's already 6,500 NOAA units along the purple line. So this
Could
40
I
million
just ask a question on that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I'm understanding the presentation. So the price per unit up 40%, you mean that the price per unit of the multifamily sale, so a 100-unit building that's going up for sale, if it was $1 million, it'd be 1.4 million.
Correct.
Or if
Yes.
per unit was 100,000 per unit, it'd be
Yes, so it's
140,000 per unit.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
thank you.
So even though the interest rates are rising and there may be some cooling off in the acquisition price, but no one is predicting that the acquisition price will come back to the pre-pandemic levels at this point. So there's a lot of opportunities, not only along the purple line, but along the transit corridors. We talked about 11,000 at-risk units in the county by 2030. Overall, we have 25 to 26,000 NOAA units. So there's a lot of opportunity here. And we can create long-term affordability for these units through this fund per se. We'll be leveraging. We're not going to provide 100% of financing through this fund. We'll be leveraging 5-to-1.
Okay.
And of course, this money is already there.
Okay.
So that was the last slide.
That is the last slide, or that's almost the last? That is the last slide.
That
Yes,
is the
thank you.
last slide.
Appreciate that.
Yes, Mary, you want to say something?
I just want to clarify one thing too. When we talked about the 40 million, that was from the income tax corrections that we got for '22. The money is available for FY '23 and going forward, but the problem is it's already sort of been committed for other things. So, but this '22 money came so late in the year, it was sort of a one-time windfall. And from well, let me put it this way. We thought the NOAA project was a no-brainer because we thought we were being responsive to what we were hearing from council. There was
I think you were.
There was a
To
concern
be clear,
about debt.
I think we're all talking about this idea
Yeah.
of being really assertive about preservation and creating funding for purchasing naturally occurring affordable housing.
And
I
we
think-
knew you wanted
Yes.
another 50 million last year. So we
Yes.
thought 40 is almost there.
I
We thought-
appreciate that. Well,
So-
and
You know, when we read the packet, it's like, well, maybe diverting 30 million to other things.
well, that would not be a good trade. But let's talk about going bigger here. I think that's the real
Well, can I
question.
just show one thing on Circle 17? I just want people to understand part of the dynamic here. When we look
Circle
at
17?
Circle 17 in the packet, at the big spreadsheet. And if I can, and it's something that Naeem mentioned in his packet, I think on page 3, when he talked about debt service. So on line 13, it's already $12 million. And I think in the packet, Naeem mentioned that by FY '28, it's $22 million. That's just sort of doing what we've been doing. If we add more debt, we end up taking away, and there's also $3 million for the HOC housing
Say the
production.
line. Could you say the
Yeah.
lines again?
Line 13 and line 14.
Got it.
And where the trade-off has been is on either line 25, which is the affordable housing loans, how much money you've got left to do new deals, or in the general fund transfer. And if people are comfortable raising taxes, this isn't a problem. We can do what we want on debt. It's just heading into an inflationary time. I don't know if people will be eager to do that. And it's been hard even to pull back on some of the increases, so it doesn't feel real good to think we might be crowding out the money for new deals here. So that's the trade-off that I could get concerned about.
Understood. Councilmember Friedson.
Well, first of all, we all agree that we want to support affordable housing. I mean, that's the good news here. We're going to come out of this one way or another, and there's going to be a substantial commitment to affordable housing. There's no disagreement there. So I just want to assuage all concerns if they're out there. We're figuring out what is the best way to fulfill that commitment. We know that there are greater needs in affordable housing than we have the capacity to meet those needs. And the question is, how much can we do and how should we do it? So let's just start with that conversation. This isn't a battle between priorities. This is a question of approach. And I think that's an important distinction to make. And so I think we can bring the temperature down for everybody of the concern back and forth. A couple questions. The first is, I was very involved in the income tax dynamics related to the comptroller's office, and I understand that money came late. And it is the expectation that that is going to be ongoing money, that we expect that that is not a one-time revenue source, that in fact is going to be ongoing income tax. At least that's what the revenue projections are, and that's consistent with what the state believes based on the transfer. And Chief Assistant Officer Madalino and I worked quite hard on that. There was something that you said that I thought was kind of interesting. So basically, originally we thought it was 58 million. It turns out it's 68 million is the number that came in. It was late in FY22. You had mentioned that the money is already committed for the out years. I just wasn't sure what you meant by that.
What I meant was this new level of funding is already baked into the FY23 budget for the future, right? Because we now know we're going to be getting more in tax revenues than we thought we were getting because of this correction. And that's baked into the estimates for FY23 already in the budget that was sent to you.
Right. So I just want to know, because I think this is an important point. We could have taken that and these are all choices that we have to make, and they're difficult choices, and it's not a criticism, but I think we ought to talk about it. The 68 million, not just 22, but for moving forward, could have been committed in perpetuity for affordable housing. What we've decided to do is commit the FY22 money that CEO Madaleno and I worked really hard to get that transferred to us as quickly as possible because we need it to provide urgent needs in the county. That is being committed at least partially, 40 million of the, what we thought was 58 turns out is 68 million to one-time funding for affordable housing. The rest of it, which is ongoing revenue, is going to all kinds of other priorities in the budget for fiscal year 23 and presumably ongoing expenses for moving forward. So that money will not be available for affordable housing. I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly what you're sharing here.
Yes. I mean, I think that there's not all of those additional funds going forward are going to affordable housing. I know that in 24, 25, and 26, the recordation tax monies in the CIP, the executive chose to put those into the CIP.
Right. So, I mean, the only thing that, because we're talking about debt, it's really ongoing commitments that we're obligating ourselves towards. And one of the things that relate to the county's ongoing obligations are committing things for ongoing expenses into the base budget. And that's essentially what the FY23 money has gone towards, which increases the base budget, which, unless we're planning on reneging on some of those commitments for moving forward in the out years, which is unlikely, I think, unless there's some catastrophic financial event, that's ultimately what was decided. So I just think it's important to flesh that out. Okay. Could you just explain? I'm having a little bit of trouble. The first thing is the 5 million. We have 5 million that you're programming in 23 and 35 million that you're programming in 24 of the 40 million for the NOAA fund. That's the cash that we're talking about, the current revenue, one-time cash. Earlier in the presentation, you suggested that you have one deal. The 5 million is going to be for that one deal.
It's 5 and 22, 20 and 23, and 15 and 24.
Sorry, 35 over 2 years. Excuse me, not 1 year. Apologies. So the suggestion is you're going to do the one deal before the end of the fiscal year, before June 30th. You expect to close on that $5 million deal, and then you expect to do a few deals in 23 and then a few deals in 24. I mean, is that?
Well, as we mentioned, we could use all of $40 million in FY23 if that's how it plays out, because we have this money, and once the money gets appropriated, if we get enough transaction, we'll leverage. Let me correct myself. We'll leverage all of our $40 million, in FY23.
Yeah, I don't want to get into a conversation about leveraging.
It's just for
the way that a deal, we're not really leveraging here. I mean, I think we got to we're providing cash on top of a capital stack for affordable housing providers who themselves are leveraging. I mean, that's really I just think we need to be our dollars are not being leveraged. Their dollars have been leveraged, and then there's a funding gap generally that we're helping to fill at the end. That's generally what these funds are being used for, unless there's some financial event that's taking place that I'm not aware of.
When we say leveraging, I'm just saying leveraging when we do our underwriting. So yes, you're right. When we work with the developer partners, there's a financing stack, there's a financing structure within each of those transactions. So that's how we calculate our leveraging for every single county dollar.
But that's like being a 50-50 partner in a deal and saying I leverage my dollars 2 to 1. I mean, that's not really leveraging. There are partners and they're leveraged. I don't want to get into an argument about it. Yeah. But and I do think it's different of what the financing that you're talking about in the HOC financing. I don't think it's also fair to compare and contrast the leverage there. And I think you made a reasonable point there. So I want to appreciate that. Can you explain the difference between the Opportunity Fund, the $14 million fund that you're requesting $6 million more, how that is being used and what type of deals that's being used for, and how that differs from this fund, the $40 million fund?
Sure. So as we all know, the Opportunity Fund is an acquisition fund which provides short-term financing for 3 years. So we see opportunities here through the Opportunity Fund. As you mentioned, we are already looking at, a couple of transactions as we speak coming through the Opportunity Fund. So we're going to use the Opportunity Fund to the extent the money is available for acquisition purposes and for the exit strategy, because ultimately our goal is to keep these units affordable on a long-term basis. When it's a long-term basis, 30, 35, 40 years we are talking about here. So we're going to leverage then these $40 million out of this fund towards permanent financing. So both the funds will complement each other. That's the nexus we can see over here.
Because originally when you talked about the Opportunity Fund, the idea was to do the short-term financing largely for right of first refusal deals. That's at least how it was presented to us. Originally, those opportunities come. Affordable housing providers generally don't have the ability that quickly to come up with financing. This was a way to help with that in a temporary basis, and then ultimately do long-term financing. And the suggestion there was that the long-term financing, which I've always understood as being the bigger problem in affordable housing deals, was going to come through the HIF, through the Housing Initiative Fund. So I'm still not understanding quite how the $40 million fund fills a gap that wasn't there.
Well, $40 million does fill the gap. Now, in terms of the ROFR transaction, which is right of first refusal, that was only a subset of the universe of the transaction that may be coming through those, Opportunity Fund. What we are saying is Opportunity Fund is a short-term financing for 3 years. Then as a part of that exit strategy to keep that unit affordable on a long-term basis, ultimately that Opportunity Fund money is going to revolve in 3 years. The money has to be paid back, to the county or through the, other lending sources who have put their money in. So we bring in this money which will be available from the long-term basis out of the $40 million to keep that unit affordable on a long-term basis. So that will be the part of the overall long-term financing.
What does that mean, to keep it affordable on a long-term basis? You do a right of first refusal. You have a mission-based organization that's buying it, intending to keep it affordable. We're helping with that. That's with the Housing Opportunity Fund. That fund is working with some private partners to leverage. I think it was 4-to-1 for that deal, and that might actually be leveraged. I think we might agree that that's actual leveraging. So how does it? I'm missing something here that I don't really understand. How this is different than like a HIF loan for long-term financing.
Let me just give you an example over here. So in that transaction, where we exercise our right under the right of first refusal, we have the county under the ROFR law, and this is only a subset of this Opportunity Fund transaction in terms of universe of transactions. The county had to come up with cash at the time we exercise our right. Then at the closing table, since we don't hold the asset on our books, we transfer the property to a nonprofit in that case. So then as a part of that overall transaction, well, luckily we got back all of our money, so we're going to recycle the money, so we were very fortunate. But we see a need in terms of the overall transaction, whether it's a transaction coming in through the right of first refusal or through some other mechanism for that matter. There could be a transaction where a partner approaches us, I want to bid on this property. We don't have to necessarily use our right under the right of first refusal. We can work with our developer partner, who are mission-based developer partners, to keep the unit affordable. But then on a long-term financing structure, in a typical financing structure, there are like 6 or 7 layers of financing in any affordable transaction. So that's where we'll be leveraging, that's where this $40 million will come handy in terms of putting the money in and keeping that unit affordable on a long-term basis. So just to correct, it's not just the ROFR transactions per se coming through the Opportunity Fund. There could be any other transactions. So the transaction we are looking at, they may not be coming through ROFR transactions per se. So it's only a subset. I just wanted to make it clear.
All right, I'll yield back for the time being. I'm still not quite clear on how the different funds would interact, and specifically what the gap is that the $40 million fund does that the HIF loan, wouldn't do, but I'll yield back.
Okay, great. Well, I think the question is, are we making the most of our resources for our goal of preservation? So you've presented us with an approach that relies heavily on using cash. And I think what I would like to explore is whether there's an alternative approach that could bring more money to bear on our preservation goal while not relying as much on short-term cash, but making a longer-term but affordable financial commitment. And this committee has been working on that idea. As Mary Beck, you mentioned, I think Director Nagam, you mentioned, before the pandemic, we started on a very ambitious agenda here for housing that has included many key provisions that we've accomplished so far, like accessory dwelling units, which we've seen a doubling of the number of permits for accessory dwelling units in existing neighborhoods. Our master plan strategy, we have been very, very aggressive on promoting housing through our master plan process. The homeownership funding, which last year we added $1 million for Pathways to Homeownership. We're hoping, we intend to keep that enhanced level of funding this year. For our housing development community, we have provided nonprofit pilots, or in other words, property tax abatements for developments that preserve affordability, which is a very powerful way for us to use our financing, because the property owner or developer can leverage that funding. They can truly leverage that funding because it's a recurring annual commitment. We have created a HOC production fund, which enables HOC to have an affordable way through their construction financing. And we initially talked about that as a $100 million fund. We started off with $50 million. We've had conversation in this budget process about going to $100 million on that fund. And the next major piece of our goal was to do a $100 million preservation fund. And we've talked about that with our nonprofit providers. And we were really we were working our way through that when the pandemic hit. And we felt that we needed to just pause a little bit. And certainly the executive branch felt that we needed to pause that as well and assess the situation. I think in hindsight, had we proceeded with it at that time, we would have been able to secure far more affordable financing than the present environment. But the present environment may well be more affordable than the environment will be in a year or in 2 years or in 5 years. So there's no better time than the present to take action. So what I think we are looking at here is how can we complete the agenda that we have been working on through the committee to get a $100 million preservation fund in place. We had always envisioned it would be a bond-funded fund, and that there would be a repayment expectation. And we started talking through what assumptions to ascribe to the fund about repayment terms. Never quite finished that conversation, but what I want to thank Councilmember Friedson for his detailed work on these ideas all the way through. But what I would like to put on the table here for colleagues, and we can initiate a conversation, is let's get back to that $100 million fund and let's see how that could be created and under what terms it could be established. And then, I think we can have a brief conversation with DHCA about that now, and OMB. I'm sure you'll suggest some concerns you'll want us to keep in mind, but then I'd like to hear from our nonprofit housing partners who are here today and talk about that.
So just to quickly, I'm not going, and I've said this before, I'm not going to say no to more money when it comes to affordable housing.
Thank
So,
you.
So if you get more money,
We'll let the others who
I know
have to,
Matt is looking at
vote
me
the
and
bonds,
Mike Covey is here.
Mike has a very determined look on his face. Okay.
But at the same time, there may be other concerns for OMB and Department of Finance. So if we get $100 million, BSC will have more money to lend.
Thank
but
you.
at the same time, in terms of the way our transactions work, we do gap financing. So in terms of setting the expectations, we do not expect, the money to be paid back as a must-pay debt service in any of these affordable transactions. Because where we come in, these are a gap filler in these transactions. So what we make as a loan and we take, subordinate lien in these transactions is a cash flow deferred loan. Yes, our transactions do cash flow. We do get some program income on an annual basis to the tune of, couple of $1 million. But at the same time, we cannot say affirmatively to the bondholders that this payment will be coming back per se. So the bondholders will be looking at the county to make the annual debt service for whether it's 15
Yes.
years or 20 years.
That's what we realized last time. And so the fundamental guarantee is the county's guarantee. And we can set up terms of repayment, but those are really for our own sense of the revolution of the fund and our fiscal planning. But from a external perspective, that's less material. What's material is whether we are providing the guarantee or not, because that's the only guarantee that's available. Okay, Mr. Covey, welcome.
Yep. Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having me. I would just note that, as you just said, the Housing Production Fund from HOC is structured as an appropriation-backed debt. So it's much more like GO debt than it is a revenue bond or anything like that. So everything counts against the county's debt metrics.
A revenue bond would be one where like the Green Bank
Yes.
potential bond, where a source of revenue is externalized essentially, and then float, or the liquor revenue. There's an external authority that owns that revenue, and therefore when you bond it, it's their debt, not ours.
Or even more simply, there's a revenue stream that is tied to the debt, specifically in the debt instruments. And when the rating agencies are rating the debt, and when the bond buyers are looking at the debt prospectus that we have, the OS charge or ABS revenues or some other very specific revenue is the source of repayment,
So-
not the county general fund like in the HPF.
And if we wanted to try to say, well, the nonprofits will be paying back these loans, but then Wall Street wouldn't give us the great interest rate that they'll give us with a guarantee if the guarantee is actually repayment of loans by other parties. That would be their effective interest rate, not ours. And the whole point is for us to be able to provide more affordable housing funding, so we have to provide the guarantee.
There's a couple of different things in there, and you're right.
I shouldn't
The-
I shouldn't be arm-chairing these things. I'm not a finance
That's
director.
okay. Typically, revenue debt is rated slightly differently and slightly lower than GO debt or appropriation-backed debt, and therefore it is somewhat more costly. Whether it's a lot more costly is really, up to the market per se. But it would be slightly more costly and potentially, more than slightly more costly than a GO or an appropriation-backed debt.
If we were trying to book it as revenue back.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. If you were going to take the payments that property owners are paying back and use that as the vehicle for repaying the bonds,
Right.
then the bonds would probably be slightly rated slightly lower and would cost slightly more.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's possible. You're saying that actually could be done. It sounds like you're saying. I don't know. We hadn't.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Are you saying that it would be possible to bring the repayment of affordable housing financing, bring the repayment stream into
Oh, yes.
the
absolutely.
conversation about for
Absolutely.
securing the debt?
You could, but that defeats one of the purposes of the HBF, which is revolving it at a high rate.
Right.
Because you'd have most of the initial money being paid back in would be used to be paying back the debt. But you could look at it that way. It would be fundamentally different from the current HPF, that $50 million HPF.
Okay, gotcha.
It would function like a revenue bond. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how revenue bond, I mean, we have a revenue
Exactly.
authority. That's how the golf course is funded. I mean, basically.
All right. So, okay, thank you for that. All right. Well, why don't we bring up our affordable housing partners? We will try to conclude this conversation by 11:30 today. We're not going to take any decisive action today. We're just trying to set the table for additional conversation. So you may stay with us and return to the dais if there's in a moment. But I'd like to invite those from the affordable housing groups that are here to come join
I
us.
will just to make one final point on the revenue bond. So if the bond is structured in a way that the deals are paying back the debt, then the rating agency will have to underwrite the cash flow of these transactions, as opposed to looking at county's AAA rating
Right.
and giving a better interest rate.
Understood.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I had texted you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed it.
Just before we lose, and I just want to make sure I understand the process here. So, I obviously looking forward to the conversation with the affordable housing providers. Did you just state that we are not going to make a committee recommendation on the
Not
NOVA
today.
fund?
Correct. Not today.
Okay.
So the idea is to begin or to continue, because I think we started this conversation in our previous committee meeting about the Housing Production Fund, the HOC fund.
Right.
And today we're going to talk about, again, kind of the next, second phase of the conversation, some broad contours about how could a $100 million preservation fund be utilized. And then I think we're going to ask staff for some guidance about how all the fiscal pieces could fit back together. And then there's more work to be done before it's ready for a recommendation. So we would
Right.
have some time to consider these issues carefully.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'll just say briefly, just since I haven't chimed in while we have DHCA there, agree that we all want preservation. What you've done so far is good. And I just want to ask one question before we lose Mr. Nagam. How many projects are in the pipeline other than the one that you talked about?
We have at least, half a dozen projects already in the pipeline, which are in different stages. This is beyond those 16 projects that we talked about.
Right. But to use for preservation in particular, for the preservation, is there something that you have, the money that you asked for, that you would need to move on right away? A version of this question was asked earlier by Councilman Friedson. I just want to make sure I heard it correctly.
So to answer that question, we do have a couple of projects which fit rightly into this NOAA fund. So depending upon when this decision is taken, our recommendation was to have this fund up and running, as of July 1st. So that we can send, a clear message to our developer community. Yes, we have some certain projects in the pipeline, then go and look for more affordable housing projects, which are NOAA projects. So now with this discussion, if we're not going to make a decision, that will, change the complexion of our discussion with our developers.
Right. We had this conversation last time about sending the signal. That's why we put some money in there, and I understand your concerns there. Obviously, we're all for preservation. I'm very for. I don't have a strong opinion about whether it's done the financing mechanism. I want to hear from our folks who do have strong opinions about that and weigh those pros and cons. But I'm glad we at least all agree that preservation is an important part of the strategy, and we want to do it in as much of it in the most fiscally sound and prudent and productive way as possible. So that's where I'm coming from, and I'm glad. And so in the sense that we're not making a decision, then I can ask more questions offline to you and others as we move forward. So just wanted to state that. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
great, exactly. Oh, yes, Mr. Covey.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to spin off on something that Mr. Nagam said. And we were talking about water quality protection charge backing or ABS backing. Large, well-funded entities have very good credit ratings. The underlying credit for a revenue bond would be based on the underlying credit quality. So, big entities that are well-funded, we would get lower rates, but small entities that maybe don't even have credit ratings, it would be much harder to monetize that revenue stream and sell it for good rates. So that's going to be part of the conversation
Yes.
that we have.
Let me say, I don't think we're going in the direction of revenue bond. Anyway, so thank you. Okay, let's bring up our affordable housing providers. All right, I want to recognize CASA is in the room also. Thanks for CASA for turning out. All right. It's neat. It's naive. Okay, why don't we ask our partners to introduce themselves. So I'll just start all the way on my right. Is that Marianne?
Yes, it is.
There's a button. I'll ask each of you after you're done speaking if you'll turn off the mic because it does affect the audio quality a little bit if you leave it
Okay, I
on.
think I've got it now. I'm Mary Ann Dillon. I'm the Executive Director of Housing Initiative Partnership, known as HIP. And while we don't actively develop in this county right now, we have a very robust housing counseling program, and I can speak to that later on.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to join you. I'm Melissa Bondi, Policy Director with Enterprise Community Partners. We are a developer. We also do a lot of policy work, and we are a signatory on the Community Development Agreement for the Purple Line.
Right.
Rob Goldman, President, Montgomery Housing Partnership.
Hi, Abe Schuckman, CEO of Housing Unlimited and Executive Committee member of Montgomery Housing Alliance.
Good morning, Sarah Renninger, Vice President of Community Development with Habitat for Humanity Metro Maryland and Executive Committee member of Montgomery Housing Alliance.
Hi there, Tim Getzinger. I am the Chief Development Funds Officer and Acting CFO of HOC.
Hello, Brian Goggin. I'm with the Arlington Partnership for Affordable Housing, APA. We have one property in Montgomery County, much less experience than the other people on this panel in Montgomery County, but a developer in the region, affordable housing developer, and very happy to be here and support my colleagues in the area.
Thank you. Great. Should anyone else be? Okay, great. Okay, well, let me ask, I'll turn to, I think, Rob and Abe to start us off. What would you recommend to us about how to best provide affordable housing at this time? I think we have an open question here of, can we make a $100 million commitment to a preservation fund, which we have discussed previously, and as you have observed, we started down that path and we didn't keep going down that path. So I'd like to hear your comments on that, and then I think anything else you'd like to share. Let's just start with that.
Yep. Rob Goldman, and also I'm on the executive committee of MHA. I think what I'd say first is that we're at a time in the market where there's unbelievable need for resources to do affordable housing. Interest rates are rising, construction costs are going through the roof, and there's an unbelievable opportunity. There's probably more properties been on the market than sort of ever before. So at the end of the day, I think MHA's position and many of the folks, everyone's position here is that we need as much resources as possible. And obviously, we're very pleased to see that the county executive put $40 million additional funds for NOAA deals, and preservation is an important thing. So we're all for that. Same time, as you said, we've been advocating, for a few years for the $100 million fund for affordable housing preservation. And to be honest, we were disappointed, like you could expect, that, it didn't get done 2 years ago. And we've been advocating ever since for that. I think, I don't know what I would say is that the fund could be very exciting, provide unbelievable opportunities. The way we see it is that, with a fund that, at a 2%, if we paid a 2% interest rate, it's something we could do. We see that there's opportunity to do acquisition, like a 7 to 10 year acquisition. These funds would be very helpful in that regard. MHP just bought 2 properties, Earl Manor Apartments and the Franklin Apartments. And, that type of mezz financing is very helpful. I mean, it's critical. And we actually used the JBG mezz financing for Earl Manor. So,
yes, using the pilot legislation.
Yeah, and use the pilot legislation. Yes, absolutely, and we appreciate. We were the first ones through, and we appreciate it. So it was very helpful. And so so the fund could be used for acquisition. We could see it could be used similar to what HOC is doing in terms of construction financing, shorter term. That money could recycle, could be used for pre-development funds, again, a sort of a shorter term, and the money could recycle. So we see it as an opportunity to get a lot of resources out, and so it would be unbelievably helpful, and it would be a multiplier of the 40 million. Now,
right.
And we'd want to see that. We'd want to see it at $100 million level. And so for it to be most impactful.
Okay.
So happy to answer any questions, but that's sort of overall, that's how we would view
So
it.
what you were recommending there, thank you. Appreciate your comment. You made reference to, for example, a 2% interest rate on loans in the fund, a repayment horizon of 7 to 10 years, something like that. Those are the kinds of details that you're suggesting we think about here.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we have to see it as a little different than the way we do the normal HIF. I mean, so, we couldn't, if you were saying we're going to take all a HIF and make it this, that wouldn't be good, right?
Okay.
I think the beauty is that we still have HIF, and so those could be for certain, special needs housing that just needs a huge infusion of capital at like of zero or very favorable soft loans, not paid back, whatever, or paid back as cash comes in. But here you could structure something separate for this fund where you say, okay, it's going to be a 2%. This is the rate, and this is the type of deal it's for. And you go to window 1 for project A, and you go to window 2 for project B, and so we shouldn't see it as just all deals are done the same way. There's different types of deals, different ways to structure it, different lending needs that are out there, and I think you could structure, this money, the bond money, in a way. If the need is to have some money coming back, we could structure certain deals in a way that makes that work.
So we can create a sort of there's 2 loan funds essentially. There's a HIF, which has a wide array of different kinds of financing, and then there would be this specific preservation fund, but it could also be for new construction. It's just a different fund with a more certain structure, and therefore, that provides a little bit more clarity. But the fact that it has that certain structure, the repayment is more consistent, I think helps the county understand a little bit better what kind of commitment it is making over the long term financially, because we're able to get a better sense for ourselves of, out of the second fund, what kind of repayment terms might be there. Whereas with the HIF, we haven't really, we know that we get repaid, but it isn't necessarily as upfront for.
Yeah, it's not must pay is really
Yeah,
what it,
exactly.
on a typical case, it's
Right.
more on a cash flow basis. And that it provides unbelievable flexibility because, some deals may not get the cash flow because you're serving the intent is to serve a very low income population that,
Right.
Only can afford so much. And so you don't want, if you said everything was must pay, you would undercut the point of trying to serve very low income populations. And so the great thing about HIF is that we're able to serve very different series of populations.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It's sort of like HIF 1 and HIF 2. Maybe that's just a way for me to think about it here. I don't know if that's the right terminology. But Naeem, what is the expected fiscal impact for creating a $100 million fund as we've discussed here?
So in my conversation with finance, we talked about 3.8 to 4.2 million for each additional 50 million. So that's the gross impact, not counting revenues coming back from interest payments. So for 100 million, we're looking at around 8
So
or
the
9
county
million.
would have to be able to make a certain commitment of about $8 million in order to finance a $100 million fund. And while we would say this fund will be repaid and there will be revolving funds available, it's not necessarily, that isn't determinative for the core fiscal commitment we know we have to make in order to leverage the
gross amount is what we are committing
Yeah,
to.
we are committing to that come one way or the other because, for example, if a provider said, wow, we cannot possibly repay this, we would have to presumably say, okay, well, we don't want to have a harmful impact on your project, so we will figure out how to work with you there.
Right.
And so that's not a satisfactory posture for the external bondholders, but
It's a risk.
we have to make that. We have to be willing to make that commitment. Councilmember Friedson made an interesting point earlier that the revenue, this increased projected revenue for FY22 and FY23 has been committed to various purposes throughout the budget, and this recommendation for the NOAA fund is saying, well, this is the 22 amount. Essentially, the 23 amount has been devoted to a wide array of purposes through the budget. But if we could figure out a way to claw back some of that or just reprioritize things, we could make a commitment in 23, which is, we generally make a budget that's a one-year budget, but
Right, but the debt service would carry for 20 years.
but
So
the
there's
debt,
a
but it's a
long-term
20
impact.
it's a 20-year debt
Right, there's
service.
a long-term
Exactly.
impact.
We'd have to be willing to make a longer-term commitment.
And I just want to note on the 23 operating budget, there are a number of one-time items being funded through current revenue. So, Mary Beck is correct that the 40 million is one-time funds in 22, but it can be used to fund one-time items in 23. The risk, of course, is we don't want to fund ongoing items beyond 23 with one-time cash. So I just want to make that clarification.
Understood. Okay. Mike, of course. Could I ask, thank you, Naeem. Thank you. That's all right. Thank you, Abe.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to note that the debt service impact is only one impact. There's the overarching impact on the county's debt rating and, what we can do in the future if we add too much to our current debt load. A couple years ago, we were talking about a $100 million program. We've got 50 million of that in place. It's not clear to me if we're talking about another 100 million.
Thank you. What we're really talking about is, can we take the HOC fund to 100 million? Can we create a $100 million preservation or a $100 million HIF 2 fund? Let's use that just
Okay.
to clarify. So we're talking about 150 overall.
A new 150 or 100 plus the current HBF of 50.
The existing HOC
Okay.
fund is 50.
Yes, it is.
We have previously discussed, could we take that to 100?
Okay.
That was a previous council's committee meeting.
Okay.
Today, we're focused not on the HOC, we're focused on creating a new fund.
So 150 new in all is what you're saying.
Correct.
So as I said a few minutes ago, the rating agencies and bond buyers look at this as very much like our GO debt. So we have a $300 million debt program for FY23. it's going to look like to bond buyers and to rating agencies that we have a $450 million debt program. And, we're getting credit from the rating agencies for reducing our overall debt. I just wanted to note that, $150 million of essentially GO-type debt in addition to our regular GO issue is, something that we really need to talk about. That's a huge increase.
Could I chime in?
Yes.
So just so I understand, 300 million is the current debt that we have total in GO debt.
No, well, we have $4 billion in GO debt.
So what were you saying about? I'm sorry. What was the three? Yeah, that's what I was.
The 300.
Right.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jawando. 300 million is the amount that's in the budget for a GO bonds. GO bond sale in FY23. So if we do another $150 million for HPF and a new program, it'll be a $450 million worth of debt that all kind of looks like GO debt, which is different from what we've been telling rating agencies for the last couple of years. They were aware that we were talking about a $100 million HPF program, of which we already have $50 million in place. So this is materially different from what we talked about a couple of years ago and what we've been talking to the rating agencies about. So we're going to need to talk through that. This is a huge increase compared to what we normally would do.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Any other? Yep. Okay. All right. So Naeem, we are going to do some detailed work here and get a better sense of what it takes to make this happen. And then we will return to this conversation at our earliest opportunity. It'll probably be at least a week and possibly 2 weeks. So, okay, that's where we will stop for today. Any other? Okay, great. All right, thank you very much.
Good to see everybody on the 6 screens. Thanks.
Thank you for our housing community for being here. Now we will move to our Economic Development Corporation. Sure, we'll take 2 minutes. It's 11:23, and we'll assemble at 11:25. Okay. Okay. Paging Gene Smith. He was here.
It's here when we started yesterday.
All right.
Friday to be here.
All right.
He just ran out for
Here he
1
comes.
second.
All right. Very good. I was going to say, I'm sure he would be okay if we started the presentation without him.
We were going to the practice round of the Wells Fargo there or something. I think so.
Okay, Gene.
Thank you, Mr. Reamer. So we have the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation non-departmental account before us. Obviously, our economic development organization, or the county's designated economic development corporation, is MCDC. I'll be brief. The EDC has also prepared a presentation they'll go through, and then following that in council conversation, staff does have some recommendations at the end, but I'll save those for after the general presentation. The executive's recommendation for fiscal 23 is an increase over the fiscal 22 approved amount of $1 million. The increase is $1,192,250 for a total recommended appropriation of $6.2 million for the MCDC NDA. As council staff notes in the report, MCDC, like all of our outside organizations, has a private board. The private board will review their budget. Private board will approve their budget and the work plan. So the budget before the PHED committee today is a line item appropriation, and the EDC will explain and provide information about how they prepare to use that and utilize it in fiscal 23. Again, the county code requires that the MCDC have an audited financial statement each year. They provided that in November-ish, usually after they've closed their books for the previous fiscal year, and that's attached. As always noted, as I do for all of our outside organizations, the EDC is again reporting about $2.3 million in excess reserves going into fiscal 22. Also, as I note, the executive's recommendation and MCDC's use of that recommendation is just for general operating support. For fiscal 23, it's not specifically, they will use it for specific programs, but last year we saw an executive recommendation for specific programs. This year is a recommendation for general operating support. And as noted, the EDC will plug that into their budget based on what they believe they need. As we compare the fiscal 22 approved budget from MCDC and the fiscal 23 draft budget from MCDC, council staff will say it's generally looking about the same in terms of how that additional funding will be utilized in fiscal 23 for the organization. Of course, the organization presented to their board in March an update on their work plan. Council staff went through some of those items in terms of their core mission and their core focus. And then again, I have some recommendations related to the specific appropriation. We can get into that later, I think, because I'd rather focus on the work plan that the EDC is doing, the work they've been doing, and let them do their presentation on that, and then we can get into the specifics on the appropriation after that. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great. So we are joined by Ben Wu, the CEO at MCEDC, Bill Tompkins, COO, Stacy Hardy, Vice President for Operations, Jake Weissman, our ACAO, the County Executive's Office, and from OMB, Ms. Hyatt, Felicia Hyatt. Okay, so we have a presentation. However, we have a new technology system here at the council, and we're still figuring it out. So for those watching at home, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see this on screen. So Ben will walk through it at a high level, and we'll be able to come back for questions. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The presentation has been provided to you physically and also electronically as well, and also has been sent to Councilman Juando. hope that he can follow along if he wishes to.
Oh, great. So you can open it up, Councilmember Jawanda. Okay, great.
So in the interest of time and for the desire to have brevity, we will truncate the presentation. But first we wanted to thank the council staff, Mr. Smith, for the work that he's done and for his engagement. And then additionally, the staff of the executive branch, Ms. Hyatt and also Mr. Wiseman for their support as we have moved through this budget process. So the MCDC, since the pandemic, we've supported Montgomery County's business growth through various sources, and we're very pleased to partner with both the executive and also the council on a number of different programs that have helped to provide for a pandemic economic recovery. We have, through MCDC, have had several sources of funding to support Montgomery County's business growth. In addition to the county's appropriation, we've also been a recipient of the county's special appropriations as well, too, in which we've been able to partner with the executive and the council to be able to form these partnerships that allow for us to have begin recovery for the pandemic. And these special appropriations were requested by the county executive and the council for MCDC to assist with the pandemic economic recovery for Montgomery County, of which $22 million was provided to MCDC for direct business grant assistance programs, which included restaurant relief, 3 rounds, also the manufacturing of PPE, and to support retail and restaurant reopenings and reimagining through our award-winning 3R initiative, and then also to provide for technology support for telework and also for e-commerce. Collectively, Montgomery County provided $85 million in direct business support, and this is the largest of any set of grants in jurisdictions around the region. So we're very pleased and proud to have moved us this far and have to work in partnership with you to be able to support business economic recovery. We also have been provided and solicited and aggressively engaged in trying to seek other levels of support too, from state and federal, as well as corporate and foundational contributions. This is in line with the goal of having MCDC as a privatized entity to be able to seek partnerships and also to engage other stakeholders in order to provide for Montgomery County's business growth. So for state funding, we were given $3.4 million by DHCD to support our Montgomery County nonprofits. As you know, in Montgomery County, we have the most number of nonprofits throughout the state. We have over 700, and several of them are engaged in economic development efforts. So we created a program which provides for nonprofits to create new programs and new initiatives that would allow them to engage in economic development, basically to help support our mission and also to be able to utilize this resource to leverage their funds and the funds that we were given through the state to be able to help support economic development as well as workforce development. You know, one of the great examples from this program is the money that we gave to the Maryland Technology Council. We gave the Maryland Technology Council $100,000 to establish in Montgomery County the BioHub initiative. And the BioHub is designed to help support life sciences workplace and certification, especially in the entry level, and also to target underserved and underrepresented constituents. This program has proven to be so successful that the Tech Council has been able to take our $100,000 and then subsequently receive both state from the governor and also from the federal government an additional $5 million so that they can bring the BioHub initiative throughout the rest of the state. So this is one example in which we've been able to work with partners and leverage these funding, not just to support Montgomery County, but also to enhance these organizations so that they can contribute very aggressively and greatly to the state's economic development ecosystem. Additionally, we will be selected and formally ratified by the Board of Public Works in June, but we've been selected by the Department of Commerce for Maryland to be a VLT fund manager for the video lottery terminal, which allows for small business access to capital programs. I know this is one particular area that Councilman Friedson has encouraged us to be a participant. Montgomery County had never been a fund manager, and so we're going to receive an initial allocation of $1.5 million that will be able to help support small businesses, small and minority-owned, well-known businesses throughout the state. And then, because we've been designated as a fund manager, there's a promise for additional funding. And additional funding was provided in the just recently concluded General Assembly session. And then, potentially, even more programs will be run through as the fund managers. And that will allow us to be able to leverage and support small businesses in Montgomery County even greater. So we have...
Does MCEDC make the determination over what loans and grants to provide under that program?
Yes, we will be operating on behalf of the state. It's a little bit premature just because it hasn't been formalized yet by BPW, but I'd be happy to provide a preview of what we're planning to do. We're going to be partnering with the Latino Economic Development Center because they have skills and capacities for underwriting loans and working with the communities that would be targeted for the small and women minority-owned businesses. And so we will be working in partnership with them to be able to create this new arrangement that will be to support VLT, but then potentially other programs as well too. So we, once we get the announcement formalized by BPW in June, we'll issue a more public notice about this. But it's something that we're very excited about, not just because of the ability to provide greater access to capital for small businesses that need it, but also this new partnership with LEDC, we believe has great potential and great promise.
Got it. So, you know, the benefit here is since you're now going to administer the program and you're in touch with lots of businesses and you'll be working with LEDC, then it'll be easier for our local businesses to be able to get access to loans and grants under that program. Someone would have administered it somewhere, but now it's you, and so you're more tightly networked, and we can design this in a way that we think is optimal.
Yeah, in the past with the program, there was access that Montgomery County companies could have to the program with other fund managers, but because there was not a Montgomery County fund manager, oftentimes our businesses were overlooked, and that's one of the reasons why Councilman Friedman encouraged us very strongly to be engaged in this program, to apply and to be accepted. And now that we are looking forward to being able to not just run the VLT program, but also because of the potential for other programs we run as a fund manager, we believe that this will allow us to provide greater opportunities for small businesses.
Great.
Mr. Wu may get to this. I just want to note that the VLT funding comes through the casinos. And so there are restrictions for this funding, and 50% of it must be provided to geographic areas around casinos. And so 50% of this funding that MCDC will administer will not be going to Montgomery County businesses because we do not have casinos.
And yet we get to charge for the administrative expense, right? I mean, we're not essentially subsidizing that, right?
That will be up to MCDC how they administer this program.
We will be working with LEDC to be able to underwrite and help administer the program. Also, the LEDC network, we believe, will benefit us. As Mr. Smith mentioned, the state requirements limit the number of loans to 50% to those within a 10-mile radius of casinos, of which, unfortunately, geographically, we're not subject to. But however, we can still take half of that funding and provide it to Montgomery County businesses, and then work in collaboration with...
We're allowed to just do that? Like the part that we are not required to disperse in that geography, we can disperse in our own geography?
Yes, yes. So we can provide more details as we move forward. We just wanted to really just give a preview of what we'll be doing, especially as we've closed out this fiscal year. We're trying to set up the foundation. So as soon as we get the VLT funding for FY23, additional, and then the $1.5 million will come in this tranche, we believe earlier than that. But we can talk a little bit more about the logistics and how that would operate. But we're very excited about the program and believe that the partnership with LADC can be very significant.
Well, I'm pleased about this. Obviously, it's a long time coming. It's been a challenge for the county for a while, not just for MCDC, but to make sure that these funds are being deployed in county communities and for Montgomery County businesses. And unfortunately, that has not been the case up to this point. It's been a repeated challenge that we have faced and have seen some significant roadblocks. But I think we owe some credit to our partners at the state for moving on this, and I am confident at the Board of Public Works. I never had a vote there, but I used to work there, and feel pretty confident that we'll be moving forward. And I do think that the fact that we now have a fund manager in the county, that you're working or going to work with LADC, I think is really important. I just learned that today, so I'm happy to hear that. 50% of these funds need to go to Montgomery County businesses. That's what's happening everywhere else, and we need to make sure that our businesses have access to some of these state resources too. And this is just one example, I think, of many where we can and should be doing a better job of taking advantage of and gaining access to state programs and resources. And I appreciate the fact that we're moving in that direction. So I think that's good. Obviously, it's not 100% of the funds, but 50% of the funds is 50% more than nothing. And up to this point, we've had nothing. And this will move us in a good direction. I think will be a real positive outcome for a lot of local small businesses in the county. So I'm pleased to see that we're moving in that direction. And I'm really glad to hear about the partnership, because I think LADC will provide not just technical competency, but also the ability to reach communities and businesses that otherwise might have been more difficult to reach. I think both of those need to be key elements of this program, and it seems that with LADC, you're going to be moving in that direction.
Yeah. And thank you, Councilmember Friedson, for those comments, but also for your encouragement for us to continue to move forward with this. This was negotiating with the Department of Commerce. Did not prove easy, but at the end of the day, we expect that the BPW approval will be a formality. And so on June 8th, when they have their BPW meeting, we'll be able to publicize this a bit more. And also, Mr. Chairman, would be happy to discuss this with greater detail. But we did want to give you this program, an initiative, as a preview of what we intend to do as we close out FY22 and also move into FY23. In addition to the state funding, we also have aggressively tried to seek federal funding as well too. We had through Congressman Raskin a congressional appropriation that helps support our Commerce Cabinet efforts on downtown Silver Spring, and that congressional earmark was designated to MCDC. We're working very closely with the Montgomery County Department of Transportation as well as community stakeholders to be able to provide funding that will create a more enhanced arts and brewery district in Silver Spring. We also have pending applications to the Economic Development Administration for a sustainable innovation zone over in Wheaton. Also, we have our Good Jobs Challenge application that we're awaiting some verdict about. That will be notified to us by sometime, we understand, perhaps in September. And then also the time frame of the Build Back Better program, in which we partnered with Howard County's HCEDA to help support a workforce program to help increase cybersecurity workforce training. So these are other examples of federal grants that MCDC has aggressively moved forward to help supplement the work of the organization, but also to help provide additional funding for the beyond the county appropriations. Additionally, we have also been able to solicit and receive corporate and foundational support as well too for a number of different programs that we've had, including support, especially from PEPCO for our 3R initiative, and then also the Rockefeller Foundation for efforts related to our IEDC Equity Communities Initiative, as well as our Inclusive Economy Initiative. So those are the other types or sources of funding that we have for MCDC. But looking towards the topic of conversation at hand today, related to our county appropriations. At MCDC, we've had 4 years of flat or declining funding since 2019. And while we have tried to continue to maintain a austere engagement related to our budget, especially during the pandemic-impacted years. We've also reached a point now where the council just last month ratified the Montgomery County Economic Strategic Plan, and this calls out for us to be able to move forward as aggressively as we can to be able to not just fully recover from the pandemic, but also to take advantage of this crisis to seek new opportunities and reinvent and reimagine and redesign Montgomery County's economic development. So the cost of economic development needs continue to grow with each year, and with the comprehensive economic strategies designation by the council last month as a priority for the county, we would ask and urge the PHED committee and the council to adopt the executive's recommendation for the appropriations to MCDC, and we will be happy to continue to work with you to implement the programs in conjunction with the executive and also with the council.
Sorry, whenever you have a natural pause, Councilmember Juando has a question.
Oh, okay, yes. Well, I was going to go on a little bit. If you could just let me, I can probably wrap it up very quickly, Councilmember Juando. Or would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, that's fine. No, go ahead. You don't have that many more. I have it in front of me here. I didn't want you to go to slide. You got 20 slides here, so I don't know.
No, we will truncate this. We understand with the desire for brevity. But working with the executive and the council, we have had a MCDC economic development impact in relation to the amount of square footage that we've been able to bring into the county through either office or laboratory space, the capital investment that has been made since 2017, since MCDC was first created, the number of jobs created as well as jobs retained. One of the areas also that is of particular significance to highlight is the desire to increase the amount of laboratory space that we have in the county. We currently have about 10.6 million square feet of laboratory space, of which there's only 5% availability. And so it became very clear that we needed to increase the amount of lab space available, especially given the demand surge that we've seen from companies that have desire to come to Montgomery County, and this is reflected in our attraction as well as retention efforts, especially in the life sciences industry. And so the Connecting the Dots action plan had called out for an additional 2 million square feet in order to meet this critical demand surge. Right now, we're targeting that we'll not only exceed that charge, but we'll also be able to approach over 3 million square feet with a number of different projects that are being developed throughout the county. And this is especially critical because we're trying to work with the private sector developers to be able to let them understand not just this need, but that if they make the investments for this development, then their investment will pay off and they will get a return on investment because of the attraction and retention and growth efforts that we have and to try to not just grow our local companies, but also to be able to attract national companies and also international companies as well.
So you're telling them that you've got their back. You're building the ecosystem to support their investments.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And thus far, with the commitments that they've made, they are responding well to that charge, and they are laying out a significant amount of money in order to create this laboratory infrastructure growth that we need in order to sustain this demand surge that we're seeing. So, Mr. Chairman, we have now, at this point, we're at an inflection point because we have roadmaps to achieve consensus to strengthen and redefine Montgomery County's economic development future. We have the strategic plan that was ratified by the council last month. And then at MCDC, we also have our economic advisory panel action plan, which was released in October of last year. And that was overseen by our economic advisory panel, which was chaired by Norm Augustine and also Darion Pollard. They came out with 33 different recommendations about how we MCDC can work in partnership with all of the other stakeholders for economic development to connect the dots and to be able to sustain this growth. And so, as a consequence, we are now armed with a roadmap to achieve consensus, not just within the elected officials and the political institutions, but also to reach out to academia, to nonprofits, the business community, and other organizations to be able to all collectively move forward. And so utilizing the funds that are being requested and recommended by the county executive, we are taking this charge that was given to us, not just by this committee, by you, Mr. Chairman, but also by Council President and the members of the Council. But we are looking forward to be able to execute on a number of these initiatives. And in the interest of time, I won't go into them specifically. They're contained in your packet, but we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have related to the direction that we would like to move forward with you, and also any of the specifics that are contained in this work plan and also in some of the proposed initiatives. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Jawando.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and appreciate the PowerPoint and the presentation, and the laying out of the forward vision. I appreciate that. I wanted to go back. One of the slides that in here, and I hope that our staff will post this for the public if it's not posted as part of the packet already, so that they can have it. But is the economic development impact, and we talk a lot about, and we've talked about previously in committee and with you all about how we measure success and just clearly defining that, right? And I see in here, I was happy to see in here in some of the goals you lay out later in the packet, some metrics about how you think, at least some high level metrics of what you think that can look like. But on the broad goal of what was presented here of, capital investment, jobs created, jobs retained, could you just go into how you're defining that and where that's coming from, and are those people that you've intervened with specifically and you've made something happened, or is it just general things that happened regardless of whether you connected with these folks? And I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yes. So I see Mr. Tompkins nodding his head, so I think he looks eager to respond to your question, so feel free, Bill.
I think it's still morning. Good morning. Actually, Montgomery County has done actually much better than this. This only reflects activities that MCEDC has been involved in directly that we put into our pipeline. So unlike Fairfax County, when they announce how many jobs have been created, they announce all jobs that are reported publicly. So that's why you got to be careful with apples to apples. This is what was in our pipeline. The businesses that we interacted with, we collect this information just as a business applies for a MOVE grant or an incentive. We want to know how many jobs do you have today, how many jobs are you projecting to put into the pipeline as a result of you receiving an incentive. So this is all MCEDC work.
And is that everything ranging from like a conversation to an actual grant? And do you break that out? And where is that, where do we look at that information?
Okay, that's in our Salesforce system, and I think you saw in the council packet, there are some challenges with Salesforce that we're ironing out, but that's where that information is kept. It's not perfect. We break it down like 16 different ways, and sorting it is not always easy. It does include whether or not we assisted a business. It includes whether or not they did receive a grant, as was pointed out in his packet. So we look at the source. What did we do? It's general in nature, but our notes can tell you more about each of the companies. And as was also mentioned, I think by June, that system will have been updated, and we're going to come back and under whatever setting you would like to break that information down. It's easy to read, or we think it will be based on at least the initial work that's been done by our consultant.
Are you sticking with Salesforce or are you moving to someone else?
We're sticking with Salesforce for now. It's necessary evil. It has a lot of powerful capabilities, but it is very complex. And to continue to invest in it, to do a brand new system would be challenging and extremely expensive.
Yeah, I'll just make an editorial comment, Mr. Duando, about Salesforce. Salesforce is cumbersome. It is sometimes unwieldy, and staff doesn't necessarily always find it to be the most intuitive or easy program. However, it is the program that's utilized by a number of not just economic development organizations around the state, as well as Maryland Department of Commerce, but also by businesses as well. And then coupled with the fact that the previous incarnation of MCDC at DED utilized Salesforce, so that there's a lot of legacy information, we have chosen to continue with Salesforce as a program, but we're always looking at ways in which we can update, modernize, and ways that we can make our staff as efficient as possible and capture as much information as possible too. You know, I know, Councilman Duando, that you're a big proponent and have urged us to refine our metrics. And we certainly support that, because when Councilman Friedson introduced the legislation for the strategic plan, the desire was to not just have a plan in which we can all harmonize and align towards, but then we can also develop metrics so that we can measure our success as we move forward. And I want to thank Mr. Wiseman and also Dave Gottesman for having the county stat team try to help us refine these metrics as we move forward. And we want to be able to create these standards so that we can continue to benchmark where we are and how we can do better, and also where we may have deficiencies and also where we are strong. I think that will help inform and educate the policymakers as well as the lawmakers, and certainly within MCDC, about our strengths as well too. And this is an issue that our board shares. So to the extent that we can try to continue to refine these metrics in a way that works for all of us, that we can agree to, then I think that makes our efforts in terms of economic development planning and our future better. So,
well, yeah, I appreciate that, and it's not just a nice to have; it's a must have. We can't, especially in this context, you come and we need to know, you need to know, and we need to know, and the public needs to know what we're doing, how we measure success, and again, the how. I think you've heard certainly from me, and I think other colleagues, there's flexibility on how we define the how, but we need to define it and then have the metrics to measure it. And when I read in the packet here, and I know Salesforce any system like that can be cumbersome. We were just having a conversation the other day about our enterprise system and how it wasn't working, and continuing to pour money into something that wasn't working. It doesn't sound like we're maybe quite there here, but when we talk about we couldn't reproduce the diverse businesses engaged metric, right? That's just, we have to have that information, right? And so it's difficult. It makes it difficult for me, to say, okay, well, let's increase the budget, and then we have incomplete information. So I really want to make sure that before we have, I appreciate what you all have laid out about your goals. I appreciate the document that you put in here about how you're going to use or commit most of your reserves, so it's not a high number. But in the context of an increasing budget, we have to have metrics that we can look at and measure against. And so I just want to we're going to have to come back to this as you all, figure out this, whatever the timeline is for this latest update. But I just want to really impress upon you, it's really an important thing, especially as we move forward and work towards an equitable recovery. So just want to make sure that, and I hope you share, I can't see if you're nodding or not, but I'm hoping you're sharing my urgency on this.
No, I think we were all nodding. This is trying to refine our metrics was a desire as we move through our strategic plan, and also was a charge that was given to us by this committee to try to have a set of metrics that we could include into the strategic plan, and then subsequently, because this is a 4-year strategic plan, and then when we review it again in 2 years, then to be able to have a better assessment of where we are and where we need to go. And we undertook that effort with County Stat, and we're always looking to continue to refine it. It's not that easy necessarily, because other economic development organizations around the state who we've also worked in alliance with are grappling with the same sort of issue. But I think that it will behoove us at least for us to come to some consensus or agreement on what those metrics can be, because then we could use them as benchmarks for moving forward.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Appreciate the presentation. A few questions. First, both a question and a comment and a suggestion. Maybe that's 3 things, so maybe both doesn't work. We've had a lot of conversation here about metrics and about measuring, the economic development strategic plan. We got to the point of how we were going to measure. And now we're getting to the next level that we talked about before of what exactly we're going to measure. What's the number going to be? And hold ourselves accountable to it. This is an interesting dynamic where we approve the budget here, but there's a contract that ultimately takes place. I mean, that's how this is initiated. So I know there's been a lot of conversations, and Mr. Weissman, I appreciate that. I'll say Weissman and Wiseman.
He is a wise man.
Apropos there. And Mr. Smith have been working really hard on this. I know Mr. Gottesman at County Stat, some board members as well, Ms. Fine and others who I know have been really focused on these issues, which I think is really great to have the engagement of board members as well. Just wanted to see if you could comment on that, both from MCEDC and perhaps from the executive branch on implementing some of those metrics into ultimately the contract, which is going to dictate how this money is provided to the organization, and then how we're holding ourselves accountable to that. So maybe we go first. You decide who goes first. I see you two negotiating. Who speaks first and who speaks second? I'll let you decide.
We're working together.
Yeah, there you go. Collaboration.
I think I lost the game of rock, paper, scissors over here. So with the new contract coming up, we're working on a variety of metrics together with our partners in the executive branch, as well as conversations with MCDC. I know that they're working on kind of their set of metrics. We're working on ours, and we're hoping to get together in the next couple of weeks and start hashing it out with the idea of being able to have proper metrics, proper accountability, and ultimately being able to better, as Councilmember Jawanda was saying, draw the line between the actions that MCDC is taking and the results that are being shown throughout the county.
Appreciate that. My suggestion would be once the contract's between the organization and the executive branch, and I don't want to confuse roles here because I think that is important. Certainly, we're all engaged in this, but as soon as the contract is approved, I think if that could be shared with us and specifically to provide the metrics to the committee, I think that would be helpful and will help close the loop on this conversation to a certain extent. Understanding that we're going to keep having to come back to this. These metrics are not going to be finalized in this contract and then never reviewed again and never changed again. This is going to be to a certain extent an iterative process, but I think it'd be helpful for us to have that before us. So that's the third piece, the suggestion.
Absolutely. And if I can just solicit if any of the members of this committee or staff or the council at large has suggestions on metrics that they think would be helpful to consider, if you can just send them my way, and we'd love to make sure that they get included.
Great. Happy to follow up offline, and I know that Mr. Smith and you and Mr. Gottesman and others have been actively engaged, which I think is great. Okay. I have a question about the business development and marketing that was noted in the packet. I just was interested in the rationale and the explanation there. I think the budgeted amount of funding is $295 out of the $682,000. So it's a relatively modest amount of that funding has been spent, or at least is being shown spent. And then there's less money that's being requested in the new budget. I was just interested in hearing the thought process there, if there's a change of priority or if there's just a practicality of the spending of that money, if you could just share it with us.
Sure. Let me answer the second question first
Sure.
about marketing. When we went into this fiscal year, we were hoping to launch a major portion of the marketing spend for the branding campaign earlier in the year. But until we got the recommendations back from the Economic Development Strategic Plan and got further out of the pandemic, we did not want to launch $1 million marketing campaign. So it's split between 2 years. $600,000 we were holding and are recommending holding to launch that program. But when we submitted our budget, we didn't think we would need another $600,000 because it would have taken our budget up even more. So that's why it went down to $300,000. So we have a timing issue in that we are taking part of this year's budget, and that's in our forecast, and next year's lower number, putting them together to allow us to do $1 million marketing campaign. So there's a timing
So you're
issue.
suggesting that you're essentially keeping the same
plan, yes.
Same plan.
And it
It's
is-
just that you started later than you had expected, and so
Yeah.
you're using some of the current
Yes.
funding that you already have, and then
So
some
it's
of
a
the
balance between the 2 years. Therefore, it reinforces the need to make sure that our full request, the county executive's recommendation, is approved, because if it were not, we would have to either cut back or move things around even more.
Got it. Okay.
So
I appreciate
to answer the first part of the question, which related to business development, understand that we invest quite a bit. Business development falls into two categories. There's the hard cash portion that relates to trade shows, travel, other things, but the majority of our business development is in personnel.
Got it.
So that's not broken out.
Okay, so
separately.
the business development for personnel,
It's
you're
all-
viewing
it's
separate.
one-
This is like business development support and
yes.
activities.
That's correct.
Related to trade shows and travel and all
That's
the things
correct.
that you pay for in order to do the work of business development, but not the people who are actually
That's correct.
working on it.
Yes.
Okay, I got it. That's helpful. And then just the last question, and I just think it's helpful for you to flesh this out. The spend versus the increase. I'm looking at the difference. Last year there was a carryover of a little over $1.5 million that was used to fund the budget. So you were at $5 million, just over $5 million last year. Plus you carried over essentially $1.5 million. So you had a $6.5 million budget. This year you're carrying over a little over $155,000, and the appropriation recommendation here is $6.2 million.
That is correct.
So
within $100,000.
Yeah. So could you just quickly explain and kind of summarize the current,
Sure.
Not just funding levels, but the current operational costs that the organization is undergoing, and how this appropriation and the carryover relate to that, and then what would
Sure.
be left ultimately in the reserve account, in the fund balance.
Sure. So both this year and proposed for next year, our total expense budget is relatively flat at about $6.6 million. And so that's includes all of our expenses, operating, fixed costs, rent, you name it. The source of funding is what is changing between the 2 years. So if you go to FY22, we were counting on $1.5 million, as you pointed out, as fund carryover money, plus $5 million from the appropriation from the county, plus $100,000 in private fundraising or external fundraising, and $2,000 in interest. That was the source of our income to cover all of our expenses. We just finished an exercise last week where we are projecting that we will spend just under $6.4 million. And that is an estimate, as you can imagine. We're within $50,000 of our full budget. Things do go up and go down. And in fact, even since we did that estimate, we had another request that we've considered in the past for $50,000 to support an economic development fund. So that number is still going to jump around a little bit, but we fully anticipate expending all of our budget for FY22. Going into FY23, again, the expense budget is flat at about $6.6 million. What changes is that we are budgeting $250,000 in external funding for private fundraising, $2,000 in interest, and $155,000 in fund carryover because we have been taking it down. And then the last amount from the county, which would be $6.2 million that we've requested. So the $6.2 million, one of the reasons that looks like it's such a huge increase in terms of the appropriation is that we have been taking our reserves down, and that has been our source of funding from prior years. That's going away.
And some of that was because of vacancies. Some of that was because of activities not starting. Now you're ramping up.
We have been ramping up. The pandemic, it slowed quite a few things down. We did slow things down between the turnover between our prior CEO and our new CEO to give him the opportunity to change things and move them around, and that carried over. And as it's been pointed out, that's been a 2-year process. We are up and running. Our programs are well established. Just Monday, we approved another $300,000 in expenditures to support our strategic initiatives going out. Actually, it was a little bit more than that. And you'll see that in our April financials. So as the packet suggests that in March, our fund balance was low. How are we going to get to the expenditures by the end of the year? It's an ongoing basis. There's a delayed reporting impact, but already we have $300,000 that just went out the door or is going out the door. The payments are being processed. We have part of our 3R program. We probably next week will sign a contract to do a $100,000 initiative, which was long planned going back into the fall. And that's in conjunction with the Montgomery Housing Partnership. And we have another deck presentation in terms of what's happening with the 3R program. So we are very actively engaged. We have hired the marketing firm to get going on the branding campaign, and starting in about 2 weeks, you will hear us on WTOP, where we will be doing 360 spots over the next 4 to 6 months. And it's basically talking about, I'm successful here as a business, here's why, and here's why you should be here too. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. But
yeah, well, I'd love for a follow-up to have return to talk about the 3R program, what's happening with that. That was a big initiative of this, of this committee and of Chair Reamer in particular, and we worked on that together, and also the marketing campaign. I mean, I think it would be helpful for us to know what the marketing campaign is and try to, push it forward as best as we can, because I don't think we've been totally versed in what that is going to be, what the focus is going to be, how it's going to work, and I think it'd be helpful for the community to be aware of that. So I don't think we can do that today, but I think it'd be helpful as a follow-up to do that. And just to summarize, essentially your working budget this current year and proposed for next year, you're saying are relatively flat. The appropriation has gone way up because you're no longer leaning on the fund balance that was higher than any of us wanted previously. We're kind of right-sizing it because we were going out of that account, which no longer is at the level that it was before. Is that
is correct? That is right on.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I could just add to that, Councilmember Friedson, the MCDC has been operating off of a $6.6 million budget, even though our appropriations from the county has been flat for the past 4 years. But in order for us to maintain that, especially given the new direction and also the desire to elevate economic development as a county priority, we're going to be able to only do this if we are able to receive the full county executive recommended budget.
Thank you.
Okay, that was clarifying. Appreciate that. Gene, any comments here?
Sure. I'll just note that the EDC for the last 4 years has come in with a budget greater than $6 million for expenditures and has explained that they will use their fund balance for the last 4 years and have not used it.
Yeah, so what's going to be different this year?
If you let me finish, Mr. Reamer.
Okay.
Again, I mean, that is the emphasis that I'm adding, only because that's why council staff is recommending not appropriating the full executive's recommendation for fiscal 23. Again, based on staff turnover and other expenditures, I do not see them needing the full $1.2 million. Mr. Jawando is aware that the Education and Culture Committee looked at other fund balances for our outside agencies and, in fact, recommend reduction for Montgomery College because they have excess fund balance to be
Right.
used in fiscal 23. And so council staff's recommendation is until we know that's been used, there's no reason to add additional funds to MCDC. They still will have the same budget based on their based on my recommendation of 50% of the executive's additional funding for fiscal 23. And
So what would that be? What would that number be, and how would that work? And then if we wanted to come back, if they are spending through the year, we could do a supplemental.
Indeed. That's my recommendation based on Council President Albanaz's options as the council staff was reviewing this budget was to delay 50%. The specific number, unfortunately, given the $5,007,750, I get that in a second, but I thought it'd be easier to think of a 50%, it's about $590,000 add for fiscal 23, and the other 590 would be in holding, so to speak, in the county's general fund, which then can be deployed as needed. And should MCDC not need it, it would be used elsewhere if their reserves continue to be greater than what we're expecting. So if you give me a moment, Mr. Juan, I can calculate that for you. But
Yeah.
I don't.
No, that's close enough. I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, if we could respond back to Mr. Smith's suggestion. We have strong reservations about that process. While we understand the desire to be able to fully exhaust the appropriation, and given the fact now that we have a consensus strategic plan, and then also with our MCDC Connecting the Dots action plan, we do have a roadmap for new initiatives. But the biggest concern is that what he is proposing requires a multi-step process for a supplemental appropriation and to work with OMB, then the executive, to then have to bring it to the council. The timing is uncertain, and while we understand the concerns, and we'll be happy to work with the council and the staff to be able to address those concerns for a full exhaustion of the funds. The process that has been recommended or suggested, we think is too cumbersome, and we would urge that we find another alternative in order to satisfy that concern for the use of the funds. And we had talked with council staff about the possibility of perhaps a reversionary clause in which we would turn back the money if we don't have it spent by the end of the fiscal year. Council staff said that he would look into that with the county attorneys, but finding a creative or a way to satisfy the concern, we understand, and we're happy to work with the committee, the council, and the staff towards that. But as recommended, the process we fear will put us in a position where we may not be able to accomplish the initiatives that we wish to undertake, especially, for example, with the $1 million marketing and branding initiative that would put us in a cash deficiency or a cash outlay potential that would harm our ability to be able to execute and also to be able to expeditiously undertake these important initiatives.
If I just may add one thing, if we were to receive less funds in terms of good business practice, we would have to redo our budget and do it at the lower level and not count on the possibility of a future appropriation. That would just not be a good business practice. We would recalculate down to, let's call it $5.6 million. That's what we would work with our board on, and to then come back in the hopes that we would receive another $600,000 or thereabouts would make it difficult for us to implement some of the programs that we either are committing to now or that we are proposing to commit to through the contract, through our work plan. And so that's the biggest difference in the challenge. We would rework it all. And as Mr. Wu said, the biggest challenge is the marketing campaign, because we are working on that right now. And
when do you intend to begin those? When will you be on her?
Well, some of it, which is the sub-branding piece, as an example, the WTOP is starting next week. That's $100,000 and some thousand. We've already committed to that, and we have the money to do that this year. But when you take the $1 million, and we'll clarify that $750,000 comes from us, we will raise the other $250,000, we hope, in the with external funding. It changes the way in which the advertising agency and marketing firm can plan the types of media that it's using.
Where are you going
because
to
of
raise
scale.
the other $250,000 from for that?
From private industry primarily.
we're going to create a marketing partnership with that allows MCDC to be able to receive contributions from external sources. It's a very similar framework that was created for Maryland with the Maryland Marketing Partnership that allowed for the Open for Business campaign to be utilized and
So you're envisioning $1 million marketing campaign. You've got 750 of your budget set aside to pay for that. You'd like to raise 250 of that towards that goal. You're already proceeding with 100 of your 750.
An additional 100. No,
that's additional. That's separate.
That's correct.
So will you proceed with this campaign prior to raising the 250? Or how
yes,
is that all
because
gonna
when
work?
we talk to the agency, there, you can tweak things. If you're doing $1 million campaign, it ends up being $750 or $800,000. That is more palatable than saying we only have a $500,000 campaign, but we would have liked to have planned for $1 million campaign. Because there's certain media you would not use, you would just completely redesign it. So we are betting on the opportunity to raise the $250,000.
Have you
but
had
we,
conversations about that?
I'm sorry?
You've had conversations about
We
private
actually
support?
have one that's coming up I'm not sure the date, and I won't name the client, but the answer is yes. Ben is conducting a meeting with a very specific business out there that's well known. It's not Marriott, by the way.
Thanks for saying, because that was it. Oh, it's Marriott.
No, it's not. No, it's not. But to answer your other question about what is different, and I do appreciate what Mr. Smith is saying about the 4-year history of budgeting. What we are saying, to answer your question, what is different is that if you go and look at what we are doing right now, we are doing these things. So 90% of them are not on paper in terms of futuristic. They are in production. They are happening. My percentage may be a little bit off. It may be closer to 70%. But that's one of the reasons I mentioned the $300,000 that we just signed in terms of invoices, commitments last week that don't show up in our financials. They will in April. The additional ones that are coming down the pike. And we have our own spreadsheet for what the cost of all of those commitments are. And the only commitments that we put on there were ones where we either have an invoice, a contract, or are in negotiations to complete a program. So it's not altruistic or opportunistic.
Andrew.
Yeah, so we talked earlier about your current funding pattern, right? And last year you took, $1.554 million out of your fund balance because everybody thought that the fund balance had gotten higher than was necessary. What's the fund balance at now?
As of today?
What's it at today, and what is it projected to be at the end of the fiscal year on June 30th?
At the end of the fiscal year, I can answer the second question first. At the end of the fiscal year, it's projected to be, I think, about $300,000. So of the 155, we were counting on that to close the loop for this year's budget. And so
I just want to make sure everybody's clear on this, and Mr. Smith might have any comment, but 300,000 is after the 155,000 or before?
No, when we do our current projection of net assets, we believe that number, net assets after restrictions, would be $300,000. As we are budgeting, we are accounting for 155,000 of that for next year's budget. So we've taken it down quite a bit. And the delta is just under $150,000. And so even in my conversations with Mr. Weissman, well, what about that? That is, again, a timing issue. You're projecting out. Do you know to the penny exactly how much you're going to spend? The answer is no. But we're now pretty close to being done.
Okay, so you'll net at your current dynamic, if we approve the budget as recommended by the county executive, your net would be at about $150,000
That's correct.
In fund balance reserves.
That's correct.
What is your organizational policy on fund balance reserve? Do you have one?
We have one on restricted reserves. So the money that we carry for operating expenses, the board is to be informed of us needing to use those reserves for operating expenses.
And how much is the restricted reserve amount?
There are two components, more than one component. The amount that the board votes on is $900,000. which we had talked about in previous meetings, which is the equivalent of 3 months of carrying cost. We do have some restricted reserves from outside entities, including PEPCO. So that is, we're about to release 2/3 of that, but that's $250,000. But that PEPCO has restricted that for very specific purposes.
So those aren't reserves. That's just
No.
cash flow.
No, but it's
Right.
cash.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. So you have. So the policy is to have 3 months operating expenses, which is $900,000
That's
approximately.
correct.
And how much do you currently? I mean, exclude out if PEPCO is giving you money and the money is allocated to a program, then that doesn't count. That wouldn't be a reserve. So how much
in terms of our fund balance?
Yeah, restricted and unrestricted at the end of the year. How much will you have? I mean, this is fundamental to this conversation, right? The council staff is suggesting that you have enough funding to be able to move forward with all of your program without the full appropriation, and that you haven't spent enough. You're suggesting that's not the case.
That's correct.
I'm trying to help to fill the loop here a little bit and understand where the discrepancy
I think
is.
that the discrepancy is in the year-end projection when Mr. Smith put his packet together, again, understanding he only had our March financials. And so looking at the prior history, I think it was about $3 million left to spend during the balance of the year. He can probably better explain it because he actually did the calculations. But the difference is that I think he is suggesting that based on prior history and prior patterns and what was in our account at the end of March, there is an extra $1 million or so that should allow us to do all the things that we're proposing for next year. The difference is a combination of both timing, in that he has not seen our April statements. We have not either, by the way, but we know what's in them in terms of the expenditures. We know what is already, now we're in May, what expenditures are showing up, and that demonstrates that we are well on our way towards spending that money down.
So I guess my perspective is that the executive branch is going to sign a contract. In the contract, we're authorizing this amount, and that contract is going to include metrics and other programmatic entities. I personally am not totally comfortable with not providing the executive branch with the ability to fully execute the contract with the programs that we've discussed, to execute the economic development strategic plan, do all the things that we discussed. There is an outstanding question of whether or not all of the additional 1.192,250 is needed in order to execute that contract. I do think some level of discretion to the executive branch to work through that would be helpful personally. And I don't want to walk away from our commitment to keep you at effectively what you're saying is level funding, even if it's not a level appropriation. So I'll yield to colleagues here. I'm comfortable moving forward and having the executive branch report back to us. I mean, ultimately, the funding doesn't happen until they execute the contract. But I also think that perhaps if we're looking for an opportunity here, I don't think we want to signal that we're not going to fund something if it's needed. And I don't want to not move forward and be the reason why we didn't move forward with things that could help grow the economy and initiate the programs that we all want. But perhaps separating out a certain portion of this into finance so that it doesn't all get appropriated to MCDC, but allow it to go to MCDC and not be, not be moved forward until a certain date or until something is demonstrated, or, I don't exactly have that fully fleshed out, but, perhaps there is an opportunity. I don't think the repayment idea works. I just don't think that there's a legislative appropriation mechanism to do that. But there are two steps to how this funding works. The first step is we appropriate. The second step is there's a contract, and with that contract comes the disbursement of the funds from the Department of Finance. And so we could put some guardrails around the step of, before finance disperses it to it. But I'll start
it
with
already
Mr.
exists.
Yes.
That mechanism already exists. So thanks to Mr. Reamer, in a good sense, we cannot spend any county funds, $200,000 in county funds on our federal engagement strategy. It has to go through a gate process where it's being released. We'll be done with that next week. In addition, there's $800,000 that we cannot spend in that with that $5 million appropriation until we have satisfied the needs of the contract to demonstrate that we have spent that money and what we have spent it for. So we have to go back and get, quote, reimbursed. And that also adds to our cash flow issue.
Yeah, well,
that exists today.
Yeah, so I mean that's what I was suggesting with the executive branch's role in the contract, but I was also providing some opportunity for council members to hear from the executive branch on the progress of that. But Mr. Smith?
Just two quick things. The council's appropriation authority is obviously where you have the lever right now. Once you appropriate the money for fiscal 23, the executive will need to execute the contract for that amount. They can't execute a different amount, just to be clear about that.
What if we said it was up to that amount?
Again, then it would be up to the amount that you've appropriated, and then we would leave it in the hands of the executive staff to negotiate with MCDC to agree on a contract that would do that. To Mr. Thompson's point, like council staff has recommended similar language to what we used last year in the packet. So should the committee recommend the full amount, the 6.2 million, we would wait until we have a certain documentation. To Mr. Friedson's point, that's where finance would, and we'd get documentation, and then finance would disperse based on that. The alternative is what I maybe am hearing you asking for, is if you want to leave it in the executive's hands and the executive staff's hands to negotiate that, like check and balance. That's also where the committee can make a recommendation, but then it would be outside of your appropriation authority, and so we would wait to see what the contract has.
Well, can I chime in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's, I'm comfortable approving it, leaving it in the executive's hands, with a big caveat. It's almost there probably should be another word for caveat here, that we're going to need to have multiple sessions on the marketing campaign, on the metrics, on all the things we discussed coming back, and this is it. We cannot be in this situation, and I appreciate that you've reached out, both Mr. Tompkins and team, and Mr. Wu and team, in the last quarter of this fiscal year to rapidly spend down a lot of money to address this issue. I'm hoping it can be more evenly, that we're not in that situation next year, and this is going to be a measured plan, and we're going to come back and get progress from you. So I'd be comfortable with that. But this is, I know Councilman Reamer, we appreciate your service. You won't have to deal with this next year, at least in this capacity. But and Councilman Friedson and I plan to return. He's got a little easier time of it than I. But I just think we really have to say this will be the last time, and we're going to look to have check-ins throughout the rest of this year, but then also budget time next year. There's no ambiguity here. We're going to be looking for that minimal fund balance in the programs to be implemented fully.
Well, Councilman Juando, we would be satisfied with what you're proposing. I just want to clarify, though, that and there has been, over the past several weeks, some expenditures, but it's not for the reason that you may have suggested. It was because, the council passed the strategic plan last month. And so we had a number of initiatives that we were working towards but didn't execute until we had a full understanding of what the council wanted to do in terms of strategic plan. One example is that we have partnered with USG to help support the READY Institute. I know that Chairman has made that a priority, and we believe that this READY Institute, in collaboration with USG, and then USG is also seeking additional support, not just from this committee, but also from the Education Committee, chaired by Councilmember Rice, to be able to use that structure as a way to redefine the educational ecosystem, to be able to not just create greater collaborations between MCPS, Montgomery College, and USG from a curriculum development perspective, but also to help create new sector strategies that will allow for MCDC as well as WorkSource Montgomery to promote economic and workforce development. So those initiatives
I
have come
appreciate
together.
that.
But I just wanted to make that clear that the recent spend is not related to the budget process, but rather to a greater strategic effort.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the perspective, but nonetheless, you can understand with past practice and history why that that could be seen as a concerning thing. But I understand there's other factors, and I know you're moving forward with what you want to move forward with in the time that makes sense. But I think if we can be in a different place next year, I think that would be where we're going to have to be. So I'm willing to leave it in the executive's hand from my perspective and approve the full amount. But I'd like to ask if my colleagues agree to have these multiple check-ins over the next end of this year, going into next.
Yeah. I'm in agreement. Andrew.
Yeah, I think we were all in agreement. I was going to come up with an idea if we needed one, but it sounds like we're in agreement. I do think coming back and particularly on the marketing. So I'll take consensus and not snatch conflict from it.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask how much of the new marketing funding. I mean, it sounds like you're starting it now, so some of it will come out of your existing budget. But how much of that marketing program, which I guess is $750,000, the $250,000 come from the private side of things. How much of that is out of the new appropriation?
Approximately $200,000.
$200,000.
Because we took down, as was pointed out earlier, we took down our advertising budget to $300,000 for next year, and there are some other things that we need to do.
I was hoping it was closer to 500, 600, because I think the halfway mark is 596, 125. The council staff was suggesting, so maybe it wasn't as good of a suggestion as I thought. But last year with the federal strategies, the conversation that we had here that was referenced earlier was we basically said that there needed to be a memo sent to the council to explain how it's going to work before those funds could be dispersed. And I was going to suggest, perhaps here that might be it if we're going to come back anyway to talk about the marketing program. It's only a relatively small piece of it, and it sounds like we have consensus. And there's a bigger question here of coming back to everything. So I think maybe we just move forward with the original thought process here. I agree, Councilmember Jawando, of coming back, and I think this is something that we need to continue to discuss and work out. And I do think that the metrics in the contract moving forward are going to be a key part of it, and that really is it's how we started this conversation. It's how I think we should end it. It's a better way to hold all of ourselves accountable. But if there are any concern about some of the economic development programs that we have been pushing for at this committee, it's been that contracts haven't been initiated quickly enough and funds haven't been dispersed as fast as we would want. Biohealth innovation, among others. I would hate to not provide the ability for the executive branch to move forward with things that we want. So I'll go with the consensus of the committee here. Appreciate everybody's thoughts, and thanks for all your work, and look forward to coming back and discussing the progress on a number of these initiatives.
Okay, so in the past, we have budgeted, and we were told that the fund balance would be expended. It was not, but this year you've presented us with a fairly persuasive argument that you are proceeding to spend that money, and you're going to fully implement it. So we're relying on that, and we're looking forward to the great programs that you're going to bring to light. And Jake Weissman will have the pleasure of doing his review with the basis of the latest information as they do that additional contract. But I think we'll approve as proposed by the exec. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
To our EDF friends, I'm sorry we weren't able to get to your item today. So
I was going to say the Fed committee meets again tomorrow, and so should we just we need to get this done before the end of this week because the committees need to be reporting out for full council next week. So just as an FYI on scheduling.
So the Fed committee meets
tomorrow afternoon from 1:30 to 4:30.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I will ask the clerk to add it there, and we will make sure we have time for it.
All right.
Yeah, that should work. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Imagine the adversities that teachers would have had to overcome. They adapted to changes in instruction and flexibility needed to deal with virtual learning, staffing shortages, and protecting themselves and their students from COVID. As we were going through this, I thought of